call. The Texans gained 15 on a bad call. So on that specific drive alone, the Chiefs were -9 in yards picked up by 2 bad calls, but that would be adding context to the narrative, and that would actually be adding facts and things like that. And that's not as fun as just saying, but the Chiefs called the calls. I don't know why. Why can't my team win? Oh, it's because of the referees. Clay Martin, undefeated. It's easier to do that, Sterling, than actually present what happened in the game. Like the 8 sacks and the missed field goal and the missed extra point and the 63-yard kickoff return and putting Dalton Schultz on George Karlaftis twice.
Yeah.
2 of the 3 sacks for Karlaftis. I love Karlaftis. He was awesome in this game. 2 of his 3 sacks came when the Texans said, hey, Dalton Schultz, go block George Karlaftis. Like, the referees didn't do that. I don't remember them doing that. They may have, but I don't remember that. Did the referees panically say, let's go for it on 4th and 10, and let's hurry and rush to the line of scrimmage and snap it as the clock was running out so C.J. Stroud can't actually see what the defense is going to do and who's going to blitz and who's not and what's going to happen and who's on who, so, and the offensive line can really get set and get their protections so when you snap the ball, you've got free rushers, you've got guys coming free, and George Karlaftis again being blocked by Dalton Schultz? Did the referees do that? No, they didn't. So, go away. Oh, I'm sorry. Your team did go away. Sorry.
Aikman was brutal. I think part of it was because he doesn't want to see Patrick get 4 and break the tie he has Super Bowl-wise with him. It was just an atrocious, in my opinion, announcing. Just I don't like when they're just like, oh, that's a brutal call, when clearly that's to the helmet of Patrick. I don't know what he expects. You know the rules. You can't go high on a quarterback. Whether we would be upset if that was the opposite way, sure, that's fine. They reviewed that. What are we doing here? My main takeaway is anyone who complains about the refs is because their team lost. It's a loser's mentality. Doesn't change the fact that the Chiefs are going to their 7th straight AFC Championship game. They can complain all they want. They're just trying to get under your skin at this point. Just hold up the number 7. I don't let it bother me. I know Jason, you and I we've talked about this many a time, because end of the day, it doesn't change anything. They're just sitting there complaining and wallowing in self-pity, trying to find a way why their team got hammered.
They're trying to find a way to diminish the greatness of Andy Reid, Patrick Mahomes, and the Chiefs. That's what they're trying to do.
100%.
It's easy to diminish the greatness and say there are specific reasons as to why they're doing this, instead of just saying this team has created the overall organizational structure and the players that are there and this group of players that find ways to make plays at the crucial moments way more times than not in the postseason. And Patrick Mahomes now 16-3 in the postseason. It's easier to say they're gifted by the refs, which wasn't a commentary until when? The holding call against the Eagles, in which James Bradbury said, I held him. I was hoping they wouldn't call it.
Yes. Well, and again, I always go back to it. 31 other fan bases know that they can get their support anytime they rip against the Chiefs.
Yeah,
it's 31 versus 1.
Exactly.
So what are you going to do?
Exactly.
You're going to try to appease the 31 fan bases. It's marketing. That's marketing 101. Yeah. It's why the national media does it, because they know, do we want the 1 market or the 31? You're always going to take the 31.
913-912-4810, 913-3-810-810. I know we got some people on hold, but let's weigh in on the actual game reaction from that. I don't know if it was rust or if it was the Texans' defense. I think it's a combination of the two. But I think when you're not executing, because you could say, well, it wasn't rust, they just weren't executing some of those plays early on. Well, then is that then attributed to rust in the lack of execution on some of those plays? I would say probably yes. Patrick Mahomes and being off target earlier in the game, I would say probably a little bit of rust that in an actual game, it's been a while, 24 days since he's been in there. We talked with Cynthia Freeland on Wednesday, and I brought up that I was excited to see what the Chiefs were going to unveil in this game when they've got almost their entire offense healthy in the way that they had imagined it, outside of Rashee Rice, which is then replaced by DeAndre Hopkins, to see what they would do. And Kareem Hunt being the better running back, which he is. Anyway, what they would do in this game and how excited I was to see the different plays that they may throw out there. And she said, I'm not sure you're going to see that against the Texans. I have a feeling the Chiefs are going to do what's necessary to win the game. And in the AFC Championship game, then you will see Andy Reid in his bag. Then you will see the plays, and it'll be throwing the kitchen sink at the Bills or the Ravens, whoever they end up playing. That's what it's going to be. And watching the game again last night, it's kind of my takeaway too. I know execution wasn't there, and if you execute, plays look great. But some of it felt sort of like, generic. It didn't feel like there was much creativity outside of the little shovel pass inside the 5-yard line to Xavier Worthy, the fake handoff to Hollywood, and the shovel pass to Worthy. That was creative, but it didn't feel like there was a whole lot more than that. And staying with Pacheco as often as they did, and Kareem Hunt carried the ball twice until the fourth quarter. Like, there are things in this game that make me think the Chiefs were doing what they needed to do to get by the Texans, and if they needed it, then they could break out some other things, like on a 3rd and 6 when they had Travis Kelce in blocking, and the zone drops back, and Kelce shows block, and then cuts across the field on 3rd and 6. On that drive, they end up scoring a touchdown on.
Sure.
And he catches it, nobody around him. Why aren't you guarding Travis Kelce? Great design, great scheme. Okay, they needed it. They're only up by a point at that time.
Yeah.
Now let's throw some different plays here. Okay, this is 3rd and 6. Let's bring out this play that's going to matter, because I have to imagine Sterling, Jack, Dylan, the Chiefs can't watch the game and say, nah, Pacheco's the better running back between the two.
Well, no.
And I'm wondering if Kareem Hunt's not carrying the ball because on Sunday night, that's when Kareem Hunt's going to get the ball more and be, I say fresher, but he's as fresh as that could be. I don't know.
He got 5 carries. Pacheco got 5 carries. It wasn't like Pacheco was getting fed.
And I would have liked to see Kareem Hunt get a lot more than the 5 carries.
Fair. But, 5 to 8. That's. Yeah. I know it's not a lot of carries for Kareem. That's 1.5 more carries. That clearly shows Kareem was. I know Pacheco got the first carry, but RB1. 2 quick things here too. Obviously, Hollywood Brown had the deep ball, great throw by Patrick. Yeah. That was on the 4th drive, I believe, in the game. Phenomenal throw. Hollywood's got to come down with that, and it almost looked like he did. That was almost like the Tyreek Hill situation where he caught it, but he didn't think he caught it, and you're like, we're not going to review this because my wide receiver doesn't think he caught it, but I don't know how that would look if they would have reviewed it.
Hollywood got upset he caught it. Looking at the ref and saying he caught it. The guy's arm was in there. It was a good play, and Hollywood hits the ground. The guy's arm comes out, knocks the ball free. You got to survive the ground, all of that stuff.
Sure, but the second part of this offensive game plan was why they focus on Travis so much and why I betting-wise, was so thrilled on Travis and so high on him, and even Noah Gray to an extent, although he didn't have a great game. The reason was the Chiefs aren't going to try and go at Derek Stingley Jr. as and the cornerbacks who are really good, Lassiter and all those guys, because why would you do that when you could focus on the backup safeties and the linebackers who are going to get torched? So I think the game plan was that. I know people have questions about Hopkins and Hollywood. I don't have questions because that wasn't the game plan going in. Focus on the interior against those backup safeties and linebackers, and you're going to thrive. The Chiefs thrive doing that.
There were a couple. Hopkins had a target in which it was a bad throw by Mahomes. It was a slant, and he threw it behind him. Hopkins had to stop and reach back and touched it with his backhand on that throw. It wasn't a great throw. Another one that was going. It was a 3rd down, and you saw in the huddle Mahomes talking to Hopkins, and then he comes out. That's when Tooney was beat pretty quickly by Will Anderson. But also Mahomes took the snap and just stared at DeAndre Hopkins. Yeah. And Kelce standing in the middle wide open. And as Mahomes, gets sacked, Kelce's looking around and is like, nobody's here. But I thought, okay, Mahomes is looking at Hopkins and saying, all right, you win. Go win your route. And he didn't. He got locked up. It happens. But Kelce was open. So I think there was some of it maybe that you might have been looking to force it a couple of times throughout the game instead of just – and then as the game went along, it was just, I'm going to throw it to who's open. Oh, look, it's Kelce. Yeah. Time and time again, Jack.
Well, I was incorrect in the hot start, going into this game. I thought the 23 days off was certainly going to help them, but I think you were exactly right in saying that some of their play calls, I think they were saving for the AFC title game, and it was more so of a break in case of an emergency, which a couple of them we saw a beautiful design that led to a big-time gain. But I think at the end of the day, they realized we don't need 25 to 30 points to beat the Houston Texans. If we don't beat ourselves, Houston is just going to do that, which is what happened. They gave up 8 sacks. They missed 3 kicks. They gave up a big kickoff return to begin the game. They only had 12 total points. You add all those up, the Chiefs didn't need everything in their bag to beat Houston. They certainly will against Buffalo, and that's why maybe there wasn't a heavy dosage of Kareem Hunt or there wasn't a heavy dosage to some of those top receivers in their offense, and Travis Kelce was really the only one to make a big impact in the receiving game. But to me, I think when you look at it on paper, the Chiefs aren't new to the postseason anymore. We would like to say that every single playoff game should be treated the same. It's not really the reality. When you're that talented, you've won that many times in the divisional round, you kind of have the benefit of the doubt of we don't need 100% of our playbook to win this game. We will now for Buffalo, but I think that's how they viewed it with Houston, not to completely look down on them, but now we have the result of this. Houston clearly was going to beat themselves and always was going to beat themselves. If the Chiefs didn't turn it over, make too many mistakes penalty-wise, they were going to win, as they did.
Yeah, this was a special teams and defensive game for the Chiefs. Chiefs win this game because of special teams and defense. Offense did enough. Patrick Mahomes did put his cape on for a play. And, on 3rd down and 11, 4th quarter, divisional round game, leading by 1. If you don't score the touchdown, you're leading by 4. You got to settle for the field goal. Those are difference-making plays. Those are win or lose plays. And for him to make the throw that he did, falling to the ground, levitating to a degree, and when he throws the ball, Kelce was still behind Al-Shir. He was still behind him when he threw the ball. So he's falling while throwing the ball to a spot that he's expecting Kelce to get to, and then hitting him between the 8 and the 7 while falling and throwing the football. Like that was, it's when you had to have it, Mahomes turned into Mahomes. He did not play his best game. On first watch, first half, I thought, this feels a little second half Bengalsy with Mahomes. It feels a little second half Bengalsy against Mahomes when it looked like he was just staring at the offensive line and running around and, not being as accurate. But then I watched the All-22 last night, and I will say, I changed my opinion on Mahomes because one of the plays that really stood out to me.
You think he's good now?
Well, I don't know. I still want to see his 20th. When you get to 20 playoff games, then I'll see.
Yeah.
No, but in that specific game when I was like, man, it just feels like he's trying to do too much, right? He's trying to run around and create. There was one specific play that I took notes of. I'm like, dude, he immediately started looking at the offensive line and running back and forth, and he ends up, getting sacked for like a 2-yard loss. Like not once did he look downfield, right? Well, because all we can see is that close to the line of scrimmage, right? The All-22, that was a screen pass that Noah Gray got hit.
Yes.
And the defensive end did not let Noah Gray go. It wasn't a holding call. He was just pushing Noah Gray back. I mean, the Houston. And so when Patrick Mahomes looks down and sees the pressure, he can see Noah Gray is nowhere to be found. The only way we gain yards on this is for me to run because everybody else is covered. There's no other route here. So when I watch the because, they don't point that out on the broadcast. They were only waiting for there to be a penalty for them to really get into and discuss and talk about. But that was one of the frustration plays for me. I'm like, he wasn't even looking downfield. But then you get the full context and you go, okay, that made a little difference. There was another play in which I was a little frustrated with Mahomes that looked like he was, just staring at the offensive line and running around. When you look at the All-22, everybody was blanket covered. And the All-22 from the end zone view, as Mahomes is running around, because when you see it from the regular play, you can't see like where his eyes are, right? You just see like his helmet's down. But as he's running around, he keeps peeking behind the offensive line. You could see that from the end zone angle.
Yeah.
So I'm like, all right, change my view on that one. Was he as accurate as he typically is? No. He missed Hollywood Brown. That could have been a touchdown. He missed him. He missed DeAndre Hopkins on one. The throw that started, they tried to start a drive with a quick throw to Kelsey, and Kelsey ends up having it knocked away. It was to Kelsey's right shoulder. The defender was on Kelsey's right shoulder. Mahomes almost always puts that on Kelsey's left shoulder, so he catches it away from the defender. Those little things like that, to me, show a little bit of the rust and haven't played in a while. The quick slant to DeAndre Hopkins that was behind him.
Yeah.
Like, he wasn't as accurate, but it wasn't as bad as I thought when it was like, man, he's just out there running around and trying to be Superman Mahomes and trying to create, not even looking to make plays down the field and not trusting the protection, especially the one that was the screen pass to Gray, that when you see the all-22, you're like, okay, there was no other choice to be made on that play.
That was what stood out to me was the screen pass.
Yeah.
Live, and then I watched it back and go,
yes.
Yep. Nope,
Right.
That's not on Patrick. That's
No.
just, it's unfortunate. It was a great play. You got to tip your cap to Houston to
Yes,
an extent. You're just like,
absolutely.
They get paid too. Houston made a great play.
Yeah. So we'll take a timeout. We'll come back. The Houston Texans had some things to say after the game. Boy, did they have some things to say after the game. And I think it's pretty obvious what the commentary was either before the game this week or directly in the locker room after the game was over from D'Amico Ryans to his team. Because it wasn't just one person saying it. It wasn't just D'Amico Ryans saying it. When you got 4 people in the locker room of the commentary that came out, I wasn't working the locker room. Maybe there were others. But of the commentary that came out, when you got 4 different people weighing in, 5 different people weighing in and talking about the refs and having to beat the refs and knowing what you have to do here at Arrowhead, us against everybody, that was either a theme that week about the refs are going to screw you, or he went in the locker room and he was so pissed after the game and talked about how, well, this is what we expected. You can't come in here and win against the Chiefs and the refs. Because it's too coincidental that it wasn't just one person. It was 5 different people, including the head coach, bitching about the refs, in which there were 2 plays. 2 plays. 2 plays. Neither of them were in the fourth quarter. And I've been told all year that penalties don't matter until the fourth quarter, right? Chiefs have had some penalties go against them early in the game, and I've been told that doesn't matter. It's only late in the game or crucial plays, because what we found out is setting up a 2nd and 6 for the Chiefs was clearly a crucial play by giving them 15 yards. Not a 1st down and 10 that turns into a 1st and 19, taking 15 yards off the board. That's not a crucial play. Only what would have been a 2nd and 6 when the Chiefs just gained 25 yards on that drive already. They gained 25 yards to get to that spot already, including that 3rd down conversion with Travis Kelce for 15 yards again. Kelce had 2 different 15-yard receptions before that unnecessary roughness. So the Texans had some words. So I put it into context because people lose that. They lose the perspective. So I presented it, and we'll hear it on the other side, a little montage of the perspective of how it's actually heard by anybody that watched the game, from the loser's cramp, the sour grapes, the softest Charmin Houston Texans, that I thought that was a tough team. They claimed to be a tough team. They came in and got pushed around, apparently in their mind, and defense was all over them, and they couldn't stand it. So they had to make excuses and go away like a 3rd grader and complain to mommy and daddy about the little bully pushed them down, and it's unfair. So we'll play what it actually sounds like coming up next. Sterling Holmes. Jack Johnson hanging out with us. Dylan Michaels. We had up until 2 o'clock. We'll hear from Field Yates coming up at noon. George Karlaftis was a beast in this game. Charles Omenihu was awesome in this game. Trent McDuffie was awesome in this game. Travis Kelce was amazing in this game. Now 14 straight playoff games with 70 or more receiving yards, obviously because the officials make sure he's open in the game. So after the game, the Houston Texans had their thoughts on what happened in the game and finding ways to excuse their inability to play special teams or inability to protect the passer or inability to make good decisions like DeMeco Ryans kicking a 55-yard field goal into the wind, setting up a Chiefs 45 yards at their own 45 yards, so a 55-yard drive that 5 plays later the Chiefs scored a touchdown going up 13-3, or DeMeco Ryans' decision to rush a 4th down and 10 when he's got all 3 timeouts with still 10 minutes to go in the game, and taking the sack. The refs obviously doing that as well. Here's how it actually sounds to people that understand football from the Texans postgame. Here's your perspective and context to the Houston Texans. Sorry.
One of those things you kind of know what's up before you even walk in the arena.
Remigio on the return. Nico spins. Still going. Bends it back and down. Ball comes out. And we'll see who comes away with it right out of the gate. Chris Boyd made the stop and the ball came out. Kansas City ball.
Everybody know how it is playing up here. You can never leave it into the refs' hands, but I mean the whole world see, man, like what it is, bro. But it is what it is. You know, like I said, when it comes down to it, you can never leave it into the refs' hands.
Extra point is no good. And that is tragic. Fairbairn missed only 2 all season, one of them here in Kansas City week 16. This one hurts. Chiefs lead by 1.
Yeah, we knew going into this game, man, it was us versus everybody. Right? When I say everybody, it's everybody.
We knew it was going to be us against the refs going into this game. And, you know, I talked to you guys early this week. And I was just saying, like, man, like, we got to go out there and we got to do us better.
3rd and 5. This time he lines up over here. Quick setup. Ball comes out. Omenihu knocked it out, and it was recovered by Shaq Mason. And it's a loss of 3, so it makes the field goal try even longer.
Good job by Omenihu. Ball definitely out. And Mason, who got held up with Nick Bolton showing blitz, got on the ball.
55-yard try, not close.
It makes me mad, but it is what it is, honestly. Not much you can do.
We got a couple calls that weren't called that I'm begging for, but at the same time, it is what it is. You know, like, I can't argue with the ref and at the same time play football. I got to go and do my job. So, yeah, I would say, you know, it's definitely some things that I would question.
Late decision to go for it here, and the play clock is at 5.
Yeah, this is too big of a play. I think they need to call a timeout.
But they snap it. Blitz again. Stroud in trouble. Karlaftis is there. Kansas City ball.
Everybody know how it is playing up here. You can never leave it into the refs' hands.
35-yard try by Fairbairn. That's blocked. Reed got there off the edge. Kansas City's going to win this game.
Don't you feel like a crying? Don't you feel like crying? Don't you feel like a cry? Come on, cry to me.
We knew it was gonna be us against the refs going into this game, and you know I talked to you guys early this week. And I was just saying like, man, like we gotta go out there and we gotta do us better.
Don't you feel like a cry? Cry to me. Don't you feel like crying?
And we knew going into this game, man, it was us versus everybody. Right? When I say everybody, it's everybody. One of those things you kind of know what's up before you even walk in the arena.
More zone next. Here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Jerry, go right ahead. What is on your mind, sir?
Can you hear me okay?
Gotcha, Jerry.
Okay, that's great. No, all the points that I was going to make, you guys covered everything, so well done.
Thanks a lot, Sterling.
Thank you.
But no, I was thinking about the turning point of the game and the bad call. The only bad call I heard Saturday night was the one that called into the post-game show, and that got handled the way it should have been handled. And the turning point of the game for me was when Samaje Perine picked up the ball on the kick or the kickoff. That right there, I looked at my brother, I said, this game's over. Now, I wouldn't really know that, but that's the feeling I got from it, and I was right on the money. I was never in fear of it, and I'm glad I didn't go back and watch it over again and see any flaws or anything, but I'm glad you did so you could point all that stuff out.
Yeah.
As far as the whining goes, I wanted to start out by saying shout out to all the referees. Job well done. Love you guys. Keep up the good work. So, otherwise, I don't have any jokes. The best thing I saw was Samaje Perine picking up that ball, and that was a turning point of the game for me.
Jerry, thank you for the phone call, man. I appreciate it. 913-381-0810. Well done. Shout out to the refs. Job well done. What was the call on the postgame? I missed it. I apologize. What was the bad call on the postgame that got handled the way that it should have been handled?
Well, I mean, we had 2 calls to open up the show, and I think for the most part they were really optimistic, nothing too crazy out. And then this third guy comes in. I don't remember him calling in before, but
it was a first-time caller, last-time caller. So he actually
he blew up on the previous 2 callers.
Long-time caller, first-time listener.
He was saying about stuttering or something, but he was stuttering as well. So
that makes sense.
Yeah, it makes sense.
It caught us off guard, that's for sure. But
it was basically the worst call. But honestly, we had great calls otherwise.
Yeah.
So
Okay. All right. And it was handled
Sounds
correctly?
fun, though,
I handled
honestly.
it, yeah.
Yeah,
So, we don't have calls
turned
like
off
that.
the mic.
Yeah.
Jack, you didn't handle it? You should have handled it.
I mean, I kind of wanted to see where it was going, but
You have to have Dylan fight your battles for you?
Well, I don't control the buttons over there. He can turn them.
Look, it'll get handled when it gets handled.
Yeah.
As Patrick Mahomes once said, it'll get handled when it gets handled. You come away from this game, what's the part that you feel like was the biggest impact on the game for this team, for the Chiefs? Was it special teams? I mean, and not just the Chiefs' play on special teams, but special teams overall that accounted for 2 missed field goals, a blocked extra point, a 63-yard kickoff return that gave the Chiefs an ability to go 3 and out and put 3 points on the board. Was it the defense and the 8 sacks on C.J. Stroud? Was it the offense doing enough and Kelsey being, playoff Trav, which is, ultimately what he is? Where do you come away and land on the biggest impact for this game for the Chiefs as to why they're playing in the AFC Championship game?
Defense. I mean, the defense was just insane in this one. You saw the impact of Trent McDuffie. He goes out early in the game, goes to the blue tent. The defense is getting torched to the air. He comes back and immediately but he immediately comes back in, and all of a sudden you're like, oh my!
But when you see him running on the sideline, Sterling, and his arm is just dangling,
terrifying.
I thought, my initial thought was, did he just dislocate his shoulder?
You can pop that thing back in.
That's a good point. Namath Smith played with the dislocated shoulder. He's a running back, all right? Anybody can do that. Come on.
It's child's play.
Watson played with a torn labrum. That's
fine.
worse than a subluxation of a shoulder.
You
just
do?
Pop it right back
you pop it back in, and then you tear it so that way it feels better, right? Is that how it works?
Yeah.
Either way, McDuffie was incredible. Hey, who called Turk Wharton going to get a sack in this one? Turk Wharton got a sack. The defensive line was just ridiculous. Everyone from FAU who splashed.
Shout out FAU.
He only played 6 snaps.
2 tackles for loss and a sack.
He was flying in his limited action, and I kept telling you guys, left tackle, Lerma Tunsil, outstanding, but it gets worse as you go to the right, and they just took advantage of Blake Fisher. He got destroyed.
He was rough.
Chiefs defense was ridiculously good.
Yeah, I'll double down on that. I mean, I think it wasn't just the 8 sacks, it was the way they were getting them. I mean, sometimes you give credit to the secondary because it's a coverage sack. C.J. Stroud's hanging around back there in the pocket, and then he runs into a sack. It felt like in the 3rd and 4th quarter, every time they snapped the ball in a critical down, somebody was in the pocket. And George Karlaftis, he's winning one-on-ones. I thought the best snap he's ever had in his career was he won a one-on-one. Mixon tried to chip him. He blew that up.
It was Ogunbowale.
It was the backup running back.
It was 33.
Tried to chip him. Didn't work.
Yeah.
Blew that up.
He went through both of them.
He blew up both of them and then got to Stroud. And it discombobulated what the Texans were able to do. I mean, and then on that 4th and 10 where for whatever reason, D'Amico Ryans didn't call a timeout. I mean, Joe Buck's even saying, you got to call a timeout here. Maybe it was Aikman.
Aikman was still talking about the unnecessary roughness.
the penalty.
You call a timeout here so we can look at the unnecessary roughness again.
Yeah,
they're not going to call a timeout.
Jerry, you said there's only one bad call. There was 2 bad calls. The other one was Troy Aikman.
And then Troy Aikman saying, there's the hold right there. Oh, is there? Anyway.
But it does bring up a big question for this Sunday is, can they generate that type of pressure against Josh Allen, which they really never have done in any of those 3 meetings?
Let me throw this out there because this is something I noted in that fourth quarter. Because the Chiefs are up by 8, and Houston gets the ball at the 34. And, Irv Smith catches the little fluttering football for 2 yards. And then C.J. Stroud hits Nico Collins for 24 yards, which shout out Stroud on that one because Chris Jones was right in his face, and he had to throw it early. And he threw it to the exact spot between McDuffie, Cook, and Reed. And it landed right in the middle there into the arms of Nico Collins. And I'm like, you know what? That's a big-time throw. That's a big-time throw from a good quarterback. And why C.J. Stroud got was a high draft pick and offensive rookie of the year last year because he can make those throws. That was a brilliant throw. So that's the play that got him to the 40-yard line in Chiefs territory. The next play, coverage was brilliant. And that's when he throws it to the outlet to mix it and overthrows him. Drew Tranquil was there. There was nobody, all 22, nobody open. And the pressure didn't really get there. They didn't blitz anybody. Pressure didn't get there. But when it started to get there after he had held the ball for a little bit because nobody was open, it was great coverage, then he threw the ball to Mixon and he overthrew him. 2nd down and 10, Bolton comes unblocked. And that was the throw where he just lofts it up to the right to Wayne and turns around and Wayne almost one-hand catches it. Yeah. Bolton was unblocked. That was 2nd and 10 on that down, on that set of downs in which they end up getting stopped on 4th and 10.
Great
Bolton, blitz, unblocked. 3rd and 10, Justin Reed, blitz, unblocked. It's when he threw it at the feet of Mixon, I think. Reed, blitzed, unblocked. And at that point, the only play you had was Chris Jones in the face of C.J. Stroud and Stroud throwing a perfect pass to Collins. That's the only positive play you had. And then you decide to rush it when you just had back-to-back unblocked blitzers. So you go up there to rush it where you can't see who's actually blitzing or not. And Steve Spagnuolo brought Bolton, Hicks, and Reed. Which George Karlaftis was then on Dalton Schultz, and Dalton Schultz had no chance. I mean, the decision to go for it on 4th and 10, they couldn't block him at that point.
I love Spag just sitting there. There's a video of him just sitting there pointing at guys. I'm just like, anyone, you go, you're blitzing it, you blitz. Horrible for C.J. Stroud.
Dude, it was so bad. What a great decision by the refs. I'm sorry. Coming up at noon, we got Field Yates from ESPN NFL Insider. We'll talk with him about the AFC Championship game coming up on Sunday, 5:30. College Football National Championship game coming up tonight. Our coverage 6 o'clock right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. And, of course, we will have Chiefs coverage all weekend long. Sunday morning started at 8 o'clock in the morning. And the doubleheader right here on Sports Radio 810 with Westwood One with Kevin Harlan on the call of the AFC Championship game. You'll hear it right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Jack Johnson on the call with the post game. And let's hope that is a long night, Jack. Let's hope that's a late night into the wee hours. The wee hours of the night for Jack Johnson and the Chiefs, hopefully heading back to the Super Bowl down in New Orleans. We'll be going regardless, but it would be great if the Chiefs accompany us, and that would be cool. I'd love for them to just, tag along with 8-10 going down to the Super Bowl this year.
Jason said if they go to the Super Bowl, he is going to drink a frozen cocktail with me.
I actually didn't say that, but,
also wouldn't happen.
Also wouldn't happen. I did lie. I thought I was going to do this, but I said if the Chiefs make the Super Bowl, this was at the beginning of the 2019 season, because one of my going-away presents was a 20-year Pappy. And
nice.
It's a nice going away present.
Do you still have it?
Yes, I do. But I said,
do you just look at it, or
it's up in our basement shelving of the different bourbons and stuff that we have that I don't drink. But I got it as a going away present, and I said, okay, right after 2018 and the Chiefs lost. So this was summer of 2019. I said, if the Chiefs go to the Super Bowl, I'm gonna pop this thing open. Well, when we moved back, the Pappy was still at the in-laws' house because, they kept some stuff. So the Chiefs won the Super Bowl. I couldn't open it up. By the time we got the Pappy back to Kansas City, didn't seem worth it anymore. So it's still closed.
I will swing by your house. I'll pick it up and I'll pop it for you.
No, you're not going to pop it. I will let you buy it.
No.
I will offer it you for a nominal fee of $5,000. I'm just saying, if you want it. I'll offer it if you want. I'm not going to open it.
I don't.
I'm not going to open it.
I love bourbon. I don't get the look, just looking at it. Bourbon's meant to be drank.
Come on, man. I'm a married man. I look but don't touch.
Come on. Bourbon's meant to be drank.
Chris Collins. This guy. Come on, Mike. This guy.
Jason, stop it.
Stop it, Mike. This guy.
Pop the bottle, Jason. Come on.
Me, Mike, with that play from Pat. Come on. This guy. All right, 913-912-4810. There have been a ton of texts that have come in, so I apologize. I've been trying to read them. And get them on the air, but there have been so many of them. I do want to hear some sound, though, from the game on Saturday. Let's hear from Patrick Mahomes. This is clip number 2. Clip number 2, Patrick Mahomes, the touchdown to Travis Kelce. So here's Patrick Mahomes weighing in on what happened on that 3rd down and 11 in the 4th quarter, up by 1, crucial big-time play.
I knew I was going to have to buy a little time. We were at 3rd and long in the red zone, but we had talked about that exact play, and we just Trev had to get over that linebacker, so I had to buy a little bit of time. So I stepped up in the pocket, was able to get enough on it to get in the end zone, and that was a big play in the game, and we needed to kind of get in that end zone after that long drive that they had.
How did you get enough on it? Because it looked like you were basically face planting as you let go of the ball.
It's just everything I got was the Bobby Stroop workouts. So it was you find a way in those big moments, and that was a big moment, and I was glad that Trav was in that spot where I was able to give him the football.
Did you know coming off your hand that?
There was a little bit of I didn't know if that dude was gonna get back in there, and it was kind of one. It was a touchdown or a pick, and I was able to get it in, to get through, and get to the end zone. But it's something we worked on. That's the end of the day. We worked on that play and that situation, 3rd and long, and we were able to do that.
Well, so they worked on that play? Oh, that's pretty good. So the details matter? Interesting. I thought it was just the ref. So details do matter, like Justin Reed being able to tie him up John Week's snap count because he played with him. Details matter? Okay. Like understanding when you will be matched up against Dalton Schultz as George Karlaftis in their scheme and how to put George Karlaftis on specifically Dalton Schultz to get a couple of sacks. So details matter. That's interesting. Here's Andy Reid. This is clip number 1 from Andy Reid on Mahomes' touchdown to Travis Kelce.
Yeah, well, that touchdown was unbelievable. The touchdown throw to Trav was incredible. For him to be able to get himself in position, just his body in position to make that throw, I thought was great.
Did you think for a second he might have had his knee down? He didn't, but I mean, did you wonder that as he was releasing the ball?
No.
You just knew.
I have a good view of it.
And the other was the long connection they had early. That was Travis's longest catch of the season, and certainly showed some burst. Do you see that as a benefit of the rest?
Yeah, he can still play. He's all right.
Coach, you've seen Patrick do a lot of things. That play there that we're talking about, is that one where even though you're in the middle of the game, you may peek up and watch the replay on the board?
Yeah, I always tell our coaches, don't get used to that. I mean, this is unreal. I tell the fans the same thing. We're very lucky to have him here. And the stuff he's doing just doesn't happen. That's why he's the greatest at doing what he's done in a relatively young career here. So, I thought Nagy did a nice job of putting the guys in position to have some real nice plays too. And then I should have mentioned Dave Tobe in there too. Dave did a good job with the specialty.
I've heard it's a three-phase game, offense, defense, and special teams. I've heard that because they say it, but this one really was. Here's Kareem Hunt. This was kind of funny. Kareem Hunt at the podium. This is clip number 2 on his vantage point for that touchdown, that play, 3rd and 11, Mahomes to Travis Kelce.
I thought it was going to be an interception or something. But for 1-5, he's a man of, he's a man of magic, man. He's able to make those type of plays and throws off balance is crazy.
I just love that. I thought it was going to be intercepted when he threw it.
You know
and then
what?
Mahomes even saying it was either a touchdown or an interception, depending on what Al Shahir was going to do. And Al Shahir, what he did was drop and fall. And then Kelce catch the ball and then just stand over him looking down. That still shot is pretty legit. And the picture, who was it with the Kansas City Star?
Yes.
That had the picture. I'll find it right now.
And then Curtis did a version of it as well.
But as you give your commentary,
I
I'll
do
find
love
who the
that. Instead of
picture was.
Magic Man, Man of Magic.
Yes,
It sounds
that's
way
right.
cooler. Good call, Kareem.
It's a man of magic.
I'm sitting here wondering who else makes that play. Who can get enough on that football, right, in that moment?
There's a few players in the NFL, and that's really it.
I think him, Josh Allen, and I think Joe Burrow, right? We've seen Joe Burrow make a similar play actually this year, but there's a handful of quarterbacks who have the arm talent to make that work. Now, let's divide that even farther down into which quarterbacks trust their receivers or tight ends enough to even try and make that play in that situation. Because you're right, pick or a touchdown. But Patrick has enough faith and understanding in what Travis is going to do. How many times do you see players, and even Mahomes does this, and sometimes you might even see it with DeAndre Hopkins, where you think they're going to stop down. You think he's going to stop in that soft spot of the zone, or maybe he's going to stop and slow down. But that guy keeps going. Travis and Patrick have this connection to where they're almost always on the same page. Earlier this year, it felt like there was a little bit of miscommunication, but when a game matters, the playoffs, in a spot that matters, they're always on the same page, and that's what blows my mind.
It's amazing. Dominic Williams of the Kansas City Star with that phenomenal picture.
Yeah, I think when it comes to Travis Kelce and Patrick Mahomes, it's a backyard football thing to an extent. I mean, we've all played it before where there's no real routes. I mean, maybe you run a route, you run a 4 vertical or something, but then you're basically circling around and coming back to the ball and trying to shove somebody to get open. Like, that's just the connection they have. And we've seen so many times in the postseason, like Mahomes just throw the ball where he thinks the next move is going to be. And Travis finds a way to get open and get there. And that's why, I'm trying to take all of these games not for granted, I should say.
Right.
Because Travis Kelce has been an icon of this area. I mean, Patrick Mahomes, of course, is going to be the face of the franchise. But to go from the Alex Smith era to the Patrick Mahomes era, to always show up big, and even this year where the numbers aren't where they used to be, he's nearing the tail end of his career. Who knows? Maybe this is the final postseason run. I still don't expect it to be. But who knows, right? That's why I'm saying games like Saturday are just ones you can never take for granted, because you can sit there, and I'm sure people outside of Kansas City go, he's 36 now. He didn't have any big-time game really in the regular season, a few of them, but no way he's vintage Travis Kelce again. And then it took him 1 half to show that he's still vintage Travis Kelce. I mean, you're watching one of the greatest to ever do it, And I think it was a stat either from Pete Sweeney or Sam McDowell. So I would need to go back and find it
Give
as
them
well.
both credit. They're both
But
great.
there we go. Both credit to both those guys.
Sam Sweeney.
Sam Sweeney, there we go.
Pete McDowell.
But the 49-yard catch and run he had, he forced 2 missed tackles and he enforced 3 all season long. That's just because it's vintage playoff Travis Kelce.
Well, it's just, it's like Lamar Jackson has thrown 4 interceptions all season. He threw 2.
Yeah.
Or Justin Herbert.
Well, he threw only 1. Justin Herbert, that was the one I was thinking of. 3 interceptions,
4
threw
interceptions in the one playoff game.
I think it was the stat was Lamar hadn't had a 2-turnover game all year, and then he had a game in which he had 2 turnovers, the interception and the fumble in the playoffs. So it's a little bit like that, only the positive side.
Andy Reid. What did Andy say? Yeah, I think he can still play.
That Travis Kelce has 3 broken tackles all year, and he has 2 on 1 play. And then, Patrick Mahomes joking said he tried to get those high knees, tried to get those knees up. And then I watched the replay as he's getting down inside the 20. He kind of did start raising his knees a little bit to try to get there to the end zone. And it was a great play by the safety. Don't remember who it was. Because as Kelsey's going to stiff arm, if Kelsey gets the stiff arm on him, I think the guy rides him into the end zone. But as Kelsey's going to stiff arm, the safety swipes down. And so Kelsey just gets air, and then the guy grabs Kelsey and tackles him. So he saved a touchdown on that play because later on Kareem Hunt scored the touchdown because that man just simply finds where the holes are on the offensive line and is really, really good in creating those. And so the Chiefs, it was impressive when they had to have it. Like they got those because there was only a couple of touchdowns in the game that were scored by the Chiefs. They scored 2 of them.
Yeah.
They had the touchdown to Travis Kelce and the Kareem Hunt rushing touchdown. And
it's 2019 or 2018. What year would that be?
Which one?
2019, right? With Kelce and Hunt doing the heavy lifting for
it'd be 2018.
Yeah,
2019 is
when Hunt
2018 at the beginning of the year.
Yeah. But that's
or
what
2017 with
2017.
Alex Smith.
There we go.
Yeah.
That's
so
what
it was Hunt and Kelce with Alex Smith.
But that's kind of what it feels like, right? It's like, who were the 2 of the best players? Oh yeah, Hunt and Kelce. 2017.
It is unreal. And by the way, I know people don't like Al Sha'ir because of the penalties and the headhunting and cheap shots, as people have called them. Certainly, I think the one on Trevor Lawrence was avoidable. He wasn't a guy that was talking smack all week, so it wasn't like, in your face. And he wasn't a guy that after the game I heard say that it was the ref's fault or anything like that. So it isn't like was it Sellers that in the first go-around that talked about
Tim Settle.
Settle talked about settle down, settle. Talked about that
down.
it's a promise, and then Mahomes ran for the touchdown, getting out of his grasp. So this isn't like a in your face or anything, but those 2 big plays from Kelce, Al Sha'ir just simply lost where Kelce was in the zone. The 49-yard play, Sha'ir stood there in the zone, and Kelce ran right by him. And then Sha'ir started fading to his left, leaving the middle of the field wide open. Like, that, who else would he have if it weren't for Kelce? Like, what else is he? What is his responsibility on the field if it's not for Kelce? And then, as Mahomes is going down, Al Sha'ir goes to his left, thinking that that's where Kelce is. Only Kelce is going to his right, and it creates that gap, and then Sha'ir just hits the ground because he can't get back in time to stop the touchdown, and then he just lays there. Both of those were right behind where he was supposed to be. And let me tell you what the Chiefs Kingdom Internet would have done if that was Nick Bolton. Two different times. I can't even imagine. But that was Al Sha'ir, and they picked on him twice.
Who's typically their best linebacker.
Yeah.
By a fairly wide margin, and PFF reflects that his overall grade was a 45, and then his coverage grade was a 39.5. Yeah, Henry To'o actually had a pretty good game, but he's just been pretty much a guy this year, just slightly above average, but fine. Really, they had Al Sha'ir, and that's why I think this was the Chiefs' game plan. I know a lot of folks, I've been asked, why wasn't DeAndre Hopkins or Hollywood Brown or even Juju more involved? I go, it was the game plan to me. The game plan was, why would you attack Kamar Lassiter and Derek Stingley Jr., who are
100%.
very, very good when you can attack the linebackers and their backup safeties. Jalen Petrie's out. So why would you not attack their weakest point of entry
100%.
and go to Travis Kelce? So to me, that was more game plan. I know Chiefs fans have some questions, or can you do that against the Bills? Yeah, probably not against Matt Milano, but against the Bills, you can also attack their cornerbacks a little bit more. So I think you can expect to see more from DeAndre and Hollywood, and even to an extent Xavier.
I think Matt Milano's a good player, but it isn't exactly like Isaiah Likely and Mark Andrews didn't have open plays. Like Mark Andrews had a couple of big plays. He had the easy drop pass. He had the play where he picked up the 2nd down 11, and it was 16 yards, and for some reason he decides to cut back and fumbles the football, but he was wide open there. Isaiah Likely he caught the touchdown. To tie the
Ravens
game.
outgained, like every other divisional round loser, they outgained the winner. They outgained the Bills.
And the tight ends had big games, and so it's not like Matt Milano is, and Rapp left the game early.
Yeah, it's big.
So we'll see what happens with him in that game. But, they attacked the middle of the field. I'll also say I fully expect the Bills to attack the middle of the field against the Chiefs because a lot of those in-breaking routes the Houston Texans are so good at, they continued to hit them. And there were 2 plays where the Chiefs ran into each other. Both of them were one of them was the 2nd down and 19. So it was the 1st and 15 after a false start, and then FAU had the 4-yard loss, tackle for loss, setting up 2nd and 19, and it was that Hutchinson over the middle on Trent McDuffie.
Yeah.
But if you watch the play, Nick Bolton is lined up across from Dalton Schultz. Hutchinson is lined up to Schultz's right. McDuffie's on him. They cross. Bolton hits McDuffie as he's going to get Schultz. McDuffie had no chance at that point.
Yeah.
And I think when they get up, McDuffie starts talking to Hutchinson as in like, all right, you got that one, but what? Go watch the replay. You didn't get me. And then later on in the game, they had a play that was a Nico Collins 3rd down and 8 that was converted for like 16 yards. And that was Shamari Connor and Nazeeh Johnson. Nico Collins goes in motion, and Nazeeh Johnson and Shamari Connor goes in motion with him, I think. Nazeeh Johnson goes in motion with him. And, excuse me, I'm going to start over. Because Nazeeh Johnson was across from Nico Collins on the left side of the offensive line. They send Schultz in motion to line up to Nico Collins' left. Brian Cook is signaling to Nazeeh and Shamari Connor about what you're doing. They cross. Nazeeh leaves Nico Collins. Shamari stays with Dalton Schultz, and they have 2 guys guarding Dalton Schultz, and Nico Collins is wide open over the middle. And immediately after that happens, they look at each other like, "Hey, what's the deal? What's going on here? Who had who?" That was a miscommunication.
Yeah.
And then later on in the game, they had another one to where Jaden Hicks accidentally hit Shamari Connor when they were crossing. And so Jaden Hicks was going outside. Shamari Connor had an in-breaking route, I think, to Hutchinson, and that was another 3rd down. And they collided, and it was a converted 1st down, and Jaden Hicks immediately runs over to Connor. It was like, my bad, dude. And Connor was like, what are you going to do? It was the play that Brian Cook got hurt on, was that particular play, and Jaden Hicks had to run over. And so twice they ran into each other. Another time they had a miscommunication on those switches. And so, I mean, the Bills are going to throw a heavy dose at that, right? Like, they would have to be doing that with Kincaid and Knox and whether it's Curtis Samuel, Khalil Shakir, Keon Coleman. Like, Keon Coleman's a big receiver like Nico Collins. Like, you would expect to have – there were multiple miscommunications for the Chiefs in the middle of the field when the Texans were just running crossing routes. At the line of scrimmage, by the way, those crossing routes at the line of scrimmage, and making the Chiefs find a way to get around their own teammate to get to the guy they're guarding.
It's a pick play, but a legal pick play, basically.
Right. And the Chiefs ran into each other a couple of times. There was one other that wasn't the Chiefs running into each other, but it was a miscommunication, and it was early in the game. It was the 2nd drive for the Texans, and it was Chris Jones' sack.
Yeah.
Chris Jones won so quickly that they got off the field almost entirely because of Chris Jones. Because Christian Roland Wallace is in the game, and they're getting ready to snap the ball, and he's looking around with his hands in the air going, what do I do? And nobody's looking at him. And he's going, what do I do? They snap the ball, and he just blitzes. He just ran. And I wonder if it's like, I was laughing because I'm like, because they got the sack, I was laughing.
Yeah.
I was laughing because I'm like, hey, guys, if you don't know what to do, it's Spags, blitz. If you don't know what you're supposed to do. Because him blitzing left 2 Chiefs defenders on the entire left side of the field for 3 Texans receivers.
So
only 2 guys were there for 3 players for the Texans, but Chris Jones won so quickly, C.J. Stroud couldn't. He catches the ball, gets to his back foot, and then he immediately has to tuck it, and Chris Jones is there. That was a 3rd down and 8. There are 2 Chiefs defenders over there for 3 Texans receivers. That's a definite first down and probably a big gain. And at that point, it was 3-3.
So I'm going to go ahead and assume that he was not supposed to blitz.
Or 6-3,
And the reason why is he played 3 snaps total,
Yeah.
and I'm imagining that was his last snap. No, this is not me.
I don't know if it was or not because that was like the second drive for the Texans. It was early on.
But he played 3 snaps total. So I'd have to imagine that was probably one of those situations they go, hey, we're not doing this anymore.
Or he might be the one that suffered the most with Jalen Watson, coming back and Shamari Connor in the slot.
And I do want to talk about Jalen Watson, but Shamari Connor played 38 snaps in the slot, which was by far the most. Justin Reed played 6. You had Jaden Hicks play 4. They have Bolton, who's apparently played 1 at slot corner, so good for you, Nick Bolton. Seems maybe like a
must have been a blitz, and then he slides back into that area. To that
McDuffie only played 1, so we thought maybe with because Williams didn't play a single snap defensively. Joshua Williams did. Najee Johnson actually played a good chunk. Najee Johnson played 34 snaps, and PFF was not very highly.
No,
he was.
Najee wasn't good.
Second
in coverage.
Lowest rated Chief in this game.
See who the top 2 coverage guys were for the Chiefs in this game?
Coverage guys only.
Yeah.
Trent McDuffie
and
Jalen Watson.
1-2. Trent McDuffie, Jalen Watson. Top
Watson
2
played
coverage
40
guys.
snaps, which was a shocker to me.
Shocking, and played well. And there were a couple times where he had guys locked up. So that was it was impressive for the Chiefs, but it shows what a difference-making player like Chris Jones, the only sack that he had, might have been a play that we could be talking about on they had that 70-yard touchdown where Christian Wallace didn't know what he was supposed to do.
Yep.
And that was a game changer there because then the Texans go up 10-6, and who knows what happens on that play, but Chris Jones wins so quickly and gets the sack, we're not talking about it. Because that could be a talking point of Christian Wallace is in the game. How many snaps did he play? He didn't know what he was supposed to do. And he's looking around, waving his arms, and nobody's communicating with him because nobody's looking at him. They're all looking different ways. And the snap comes, and his idea is, I'm just going to blitz instead of maybe I should play coverage just in case.
Man, I really do wonder if that was – I would love to know if that was – because he only played 3, and he's been playing a good chunk of snaps. He's been playing a good chunk, so –
It's a good point. I have to go back and look as to when he was in the game. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back. But again, so many positives that the defense did. There are some things to clean up. And I would guess the Buffalo Bills will be trying to run some twists, will be trying to run some crossing patterns to the middle of the field to try to confuse the Chiefs defenders because the Texans were so good and efficient, and they produced a number of their yards on those in-breaking routes. And it was a big part of their game, and it was a big part of what the Chiefs were lacking, but they were pretty darn good in everything else. We'll take a timeout. More Zone next. All right, we continue right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Jason Anderson with you, Sterling Holmes, Dylan Michaels heading up until 2 o'clock. Field Yates comes up at the top of the noon hour. Mick Schaefer, we'll talk with him coming up at 1 o'clock. We have the national championship game for you right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Pregame starting at 6 o'clock, 6:30 when that game gets underway to see who will win the national title, if Notre Dame can pull off the upset, or if Ohio State will go and win the national championship. The conference championship weekend is set, and we have Commanders, Eagles, and Chiefs, Bills. And 3 of those 4 would not have been surprised to anybody if they played in the AFC championship game. Yet here are the Commanders, after a 4-win season last year, a new head coach, and a new quarterback, and they are now in the NFC Championship
I missed
game.
my last day to wear my shirt. My Commanders shirt that I bought back when they were the football team. And I'm so upset with myself.
Damn it, you can wear it tomorrow.
That's true, but it would have been more, today would have been better.
I will say, a lot of people are saying maybe the Bills are due because they've lost 3 straight playoff games against the Chiefs, because it's not like they've ever lost 4 straight big games in the playoffs before.
I can't remember one time.
I can't remember a single time when the Bills lost 4 straight big playoff games. Can you, Dylan?
No, I can't. I don't think they made a documentary about it.
No, I don't think so.
I also appreciate, guys, that when we did our coach quarterback rankings, that of the 3 of us, I was the only one that had Commanders over Lions in our coach QB rankings.
Hey, I have 3 of the Final 4 left.
Double
from
I didn't make a list. So
from mid
3 of the Final 4. You have all Final 4 left because we did all 8 teams.
No, from mid-season.
Oh, mid-season AFC Championship game, NFC Championship game.
Yeah, just prediction. Yeah, mid-season I'm 3 out of 4.
Okay,
feeling pretty good. My championship was my Super Bowl was Eagles Chiefs.
There you go.
So
that's pretty good.
Feeling pretty good.
Pretty good.
That was preseason.
Yeah, so I had Commanders over Lions in that based on coach and quarterback combination, and Jaden Daniels was just unbelievable, man. He was unbelievable. What I find funny is, like, the commentary around the Ravens and Bills game is going to be fascinating this week and probably already is. Haven't heard much of the commentary. Been at work this morning. It was late last night. I rewatched the Chiefs game after that game was over. So, honestly, I haven't heard much of the commentary if it's all on Lamar Jackson, if Lamar Jackson is being absolved. I've seen a couple of tweets about that. I follow a lot of people who are Ravens fans because they're Lamar Jackson fans, okay?
Sure.
I like Lamar as well. But I find it funny in the 2 different narratives around the Ravens and the Chiefs. For example, Lamar Jackson's 2 turnovers in the first half. That's a reason why they were in the position that they were. So those matter. Those turnovers matter. They do. Every play during the game matters. But what I find interesting in this conflicting ideologies that are there, because people can't stay on point of what they actually believe in based on the team they're rooting for. The game on Saturday, the roughing the passer call on the Chiefs' second drive of the game, that they end up getting 3 points, was a game-changing play. And it didn't matter when it happened. It was a game-changing play. And in the same breath, we'll say, why are we talking about Lamar's failure in this game? The turnovers happened in the first half. Look what he did in the second half. He was great in the second half. Those turnovers, I've seen a couple of, like, you can't blame this on Lamar. The turnovers were early on in the game. Look what he did later. He didn't fumble, Mark Andrews. He didn't have Derrick Henry drop the ball. He didn't have Mark Andrews drop the ball. He didn't have Mark Andrews drop the ball at the 2-point conversion. Those turnovers were early in the game, and they were able to overcome those and then go and should have tied the game. Okay, so if we're going to dismiss that, then we dismiss any penalties in the first quarter or the first half. Point is, I disagree with all of that. I think the whole game matters.
Yeah.
I think the turnovers early in the game matter because you could have got points out of those drives.
Lamar was incredible outside of 2 game-changing plays. And that's what it comes down to is, I talked about it, the variance of the Ravens.
Yeah.
They have the highest and lowest variance of any team. Because as great as Lamar is, he had 2 back-breaking plays. Josh Allen didn't have 2 back-breaking plays. That's why the Bills won. Yeah. Again, Lamar's fumble was just horrific. The interception was just horrible. Yeah. And while we can applaud him for the first drive of the game and the final drive of the game, those 2 plays, while yes, Mark Andrews and all that stuff, but I think the Mark Andrews final drop in the 2-point conversion is still it's being overblown. There's a minute and a half left, and the Bills had 2 timeouts left.
I'd agree with that. Yes, you and I are on the same page.
You
there.
think they weren't going to go down and kick a field goal? I get it. It's easy to pick on Mark Andrews. He had another drop, and he also had another fumble. I understand that. But the interception and fumble by your star quarterback, by the guy who's probably going to win MVP, that's the conundrum of how you view Lamar in the playoffs.
It's the Emmanuel Sanders catch. Like, oh, Emmanuel Sanders catches that, and he scores.
Oh, my God. Yeah, you're right.
It's like Mahomes had a minute and a half left, and all the
100%. Jimmy Garoppolo overthrowing Emmanuel Sanders cost the San Francisco 49ers a Super Bowl. But you know what?
Nuance doesn't matter, by the way.
But it's funny that you bring that up because I was going to bring it up at some point, and I had completely forgotten. I didn't think it would take till 11:40 to get here to do that. But we've had some fun with the show so far and the different points of what the Chiefs have done. But our friend Rob on Twitter, after the 2-point conversion was dropped by Mark Andrews, he tweeted me and said, hey, so, essentially like, hey, that 2-point conversion for the Chiefs or the Ravens against the Chiefs with Isaiah Likely, it's kind of proved that we can't just assume that they get that 2-point conversion. And then I quote tweeted and said, no, this is how it works. The internet said that if Isaiah Likely's toe was in, the Ravens definitely get the 2-point conversion. Now, sidebar, I'm on record as saying the way that fourth quarter went and that final drive, I would have bet on the Ravens getting the 2-point conversion. But it doesn't mean they catch the football or get their foot down in bounds. But it's the same as if Isaiah Likely gets his toe down, they will get a 2-point conversion.
Sure.
If the penalty is called against the Chiefs in the end zone of pass interference against Kyle Pitts, the Falcons win. Even though there was 5 minutes left to go in the game.
Yes.
And if the Falcons then score a touchdown, because you don't get a touchdown on the penalty of the end zone, you still have to score, and get the 2-point conversion, the Chiefs were only down by 3. If they don't get the 2-point conversion, the Chiefs are down by 1 with 5 minutes to go. But that is automatically a win.
Yes.
Each and every game along the way. If the Raiders don't fumble the football, they absolutely would have made the field goal.
That's when I always go back to a guy who missed 3 50-plus yarder,
Yeah.
2 or 3 earlier in that game. 2 of them. I'm like, they would have had a 49 or 50 yarder either way. So why do you have confidence in them?
They would have made the field goal. This is obvious. If James Bradbury did not hold Juju Smith-Schuster, the Eagles would have obviously won the game. They'd have gone down and scored a touchdown, not kick a field goal to tie the game with a minute to go. They would have done that. They would have got a 4-point field goal to win the game. They would have won the game. It doesn't matter what happened after it. Bass misses the field goal. The only reason the Chiefs won is because Bass missed the field goal to tie the game.
Yes.
With still a minute something to go. The Chiefs still had to run out the clock. They didn't take a knee. They had to run out the clock with running the football after the Bass missed field goal. They still would have got the ball just as Josh Allen there. That it's
and
so
overtime
absurd.
if they don't. So
it's so absurd and lazy, but with the Chiefs it's an automatic this would have happened if this one thing happened, and yet we're ignoring one of the most clutch quarterbacks that has ever lived in clutch moments that he just wouldn't come through in those games.
Are we also overlooking Harbaugh, his decision to chase points in the
third quarter?
It was the third quarter.
It was like 3 minutes left.
It was
in the third.
end of the third, but still, to chase points.
21-19.
I didn't think it was a horrible decision. I still don't think it's a horrible decision. Like, it's not like, if I was a Ravens fan, you shouldn't, I don't think, feel angry, but I think it's definitely a questionable one that early in the game. I understand the weather was not ideal, so maybe you think that the extra point, the percentage goes down, so maybe you think you have a higher chance. Like, right, if you think it's a 98% chance of the extra point, maybe it's down to like an 88% chance, so you think the risk and reward is shorter there. But I do think Harbaugh should have some questions in regards to that decision. Again, he's not the reason why they necessarily lost this game. It's the fumble, it's the interception, I guess multiple fumbles, all that stuff. But I don't know your thoughts here, guys, but I feel like Harbaugh, that's not being talked about enough.
Yeah, I mean, I think the frustrating part, if you're a Baltimore fan, is that all 3 of the turnovers were completely avoidable, right? The interception for Lamar, you pocket that ball. You can make that throw in September, and hope for the best there. You can't make it in mid-January on the road in Buffalo. The fumble that Lamar had. Again, I think just trying to do too much in that spot. And we know how agile he is and how mobile he is. He can break tackles and make people miss, but that was a critical error where Baltimore was driving. And then Mark Andrews. All I would say to that is know who you are. Know the type of player that you are. Mark Andrews is a talented tight end. He is not a tight end that's going to make 3 people miss in the snow, go around them for 20 more yards. And in that spot in the game, you catch it and you go down. We see so often, not just in the NFL, but in college as well, guys trying to do too much to get the extra yard. In fact, I vividly remember a game in Cincinnati a few years ago where Travis Kelce had a big catch in the fourth quarter. He wouldn't go down, and what happened? Cincinnati punched the ball out. It was a critical error that eventually wound up costing them the game. It wasn't the only thing that hurt them, but you can point to those mistakes. And for Mark Andrews last night in Baltimore, I think Sterling's right. I mean, you can't isolate those 2 or 3 plays and say you are the main reason that we lost. They didn't help. I mean, that was a big-time factor. If we're doing a pie chart here, Mark Andrews gets a big chunk of that pie for blame in this game, and it's what Baltimore's now done now. The last couple of times they were making their trek to the Super Bowl. They have made the critical error when you just simply can't.
Zay Flowers
fumbling the ball. And also you go back earlier in that game, Zay Flowers pushing L'Jarius Sneed's head to the
2 plays
turf.
earlier. It was the same drive.
Like costing your team yards in that spot. And Buffalo, credit to them, they have sort of molded themselves, I think, a little bit into what the Chiefs do. They don't shoot themselves in the foot. Josh Allen used to be that, okay, I'm going into a game like this, I'm throwing for 380, I got to have 4 touchdowns, light it up. Last night, he just took what Baltimore gave him. There was a lot of swing passes, screen plays, underneath routes, didn't turn the ball over. Didn't really get sacked more than I think once or twice in the game.
Once for 1 yard.
For 1 yard. And that's because he's really hard to bring down. But Josh Allen has developed into that where Lamar Jackson, he's always had that criticism of he can't win the big game. And last night, he had a great legacy drive there. It didn't work out. But Buffalo, who had been, not great in the second half, but was still moving the ball pretty well all game long, they would have had 1:50 to go. Like, you hate to score too early. Baltimore had to score there, but it just wasn't meant to be, and now he's 3-5. I don't think all of this comes back on Lamar, but I just point to all 3 of those turnovers, completely avoidable. It wasn't like some guy got crunched and the ball got popped out, or a ball got batted up in the air, receiver couldn't catch it and it was ripped away by a cornerback. All 3 of those were completely avoidable and just boneheaded turnovers, in my opinion.
The last 2 losses for the Ravens in the playoffs. Last year, against the Chiefs in the AFC Championship game, they were -3 in turnover differential. Yesterday, they were -3 in turnover differential. And they lost both games by a score. You can't do that in the playoffs. And so people can talk about, refs this and refs that and refs this and refs that. But we discussed last year when when we talked about it earlier this year, as Mahomes has been on his stretch of not throwing an interception. And we had said, Mahomes is on his longest stretch of not throwing an interception in his career. The only time he's had a longer stretch of 4 games was last year in the postseason. Because that's what they do. They get in the postseason and they simply make the plays when you have to have them, but they also don't shoot themselves in the foot over and over. And other teams do. It's a great point by Jack that Buffalo has not really been that team that shot themselves in the foot. Now, they made a bad decision to fake the punt against the Chiefs last year, but McCole Hardman also fumbled through the end zone and gave it right back after that fake punt. They didn't shoot themselves in the foot by Dawkins getting walked back by Chris Jones to hit the hip of Josh Allen to miss an open receiver for a touchdown. That wasn't shooting themselves in the foot. That was Chris Jones being a better player and making a play as an all-pro. Walking Dawkins back so much that as Josh Allen's getting ready to throw, he's got an open receiver. That's a touchdown. Chiefs are down 4 with the ball, but Chris Jones made the play and knocked him into the hip, and the ball falls 5 feet in front of the receiver. That happens. They didn't shoot themselves in the foot in that one. A lot of the details of that game I don't really remember as much because of the Ravens game the next week. Oh, and then the Super Bowl as well. But I do know these couple of games for the Ravens, Like, they're leaving the playoffs saying, boy, we continue to hurt ourselves. How do we do this differently? I don't know, but your quarterback is part of it. And I love Lamar. He's going to win his 3rd MVP. I do hope in his career he wins a Super Bowl because I'm a fan of Lamar. I hope he wins a Super Bowl. I think he's an awesome quarterback and a really good dude as well, so I'll root for them. But he can't have multiple turnovers each time his team is losing in the playoffs and be absolved because he had a couple of guys drop a football. I shouldn't say a couple of guys. There were 3 drops and a bad fumble by, his team. Derrick Henry and 3 of them by Mark Andrews. But, good players find ways to overcome. Again, the Chiefs were in a position to beat the Bills last year after McCole Hardman fumbled through the end zone because they did enough throughout the entirety of the game. That didn't cost them the game. We're not saying the McCole Hardman fumble through the end zone game against the Bills in the divisional round. We're not calling it that. We're calling it the McCole Hardman catches the winning touchdown in the Super Bowl 3 weeks later game. More Zone next. second hour. We'll talk with Field Yates coming up at noon. Mick Schaefer joins us in the 1 o'clock hour. We'll hear from Andy Reid today as they get set for the Buffalo Bills. They had the day off yesterday to rest, to celebrate on Saturday night. Although I don't know that there was much celebration from the Chiefs on Saturday night, because that game sort of felt like they're late in the fourth quarter. It was kind of over at that point, having the 11-point lead, blocking the field goal, taking the safety, all of that stuff. But they have bigger fish to fry, as they would say. A lot of celebration from the Bills last night, as they should. They're going to the AFC Championship game for the first time since 2020.
Yeah.
Good for them. Chiefs had the day off yesterday. They'll get ready for the Bills. We'll hear from Andy Reid coming up later on in the noon hour. Field Yates next.
He'll help you fantasy focus while he scoops the news. He's on TV more often than he's in bed. He'll break down the NFL without a single hair ever out of place. It's Field Yates of ESPN. Now in the zone with Jason Anderson on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
All right, we continue right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Jason Anderson with you. Sterling Holmes, Dylan Michaels. We head up until 2 o'clock. Couple hours to go. Coming up at 6 o'clock pregame for the National Championship game. 6:30, the National Championship game gets underway. Sunday, the Conference Championship game's underway. 5:30, Chiefs and Bills. For the fourth time in the last 5 years, Chiefs 3-0 in those games. Field Yates here in the zone with us on this Monday, ESPN NFL Insider. Field, welcome to the show. How are you, sir?
Jason, I am doing well. I was just speaking with Dylan prior to this about how we have reached the point where this is the expectation, right? 7 for 7 in terms of seasons with Patrick Mahomes, the starting quarterback with the Chiefs, and reaching the AFC Championship game, and 6 of those 7 being played at Arrowhead. It is time. It is a place that we are all very familiar with, and still it is very exciting every time you reach there.
I mean, is there any way to it, and maybe years from now, decades from now, certainly when I'm talking to my grandchildren about what it was like to watch Patrick Mahomes in this run, is there any way to sort of put into perspective in real time what we're witnessing? A quarterback who's 7 for 7, and the only 2 losses through the 6 games so far have been in overtime of the AFC Championship game, and has 3 Super Bowls. Like, since he's been a starter, this has been the earliest he's ever left the post. Is there a way to contextualize that or put it into perspective in real time, or does it take historical precedent and us looking back after it's over?
You know, my general sense, Jason, is that what happens in the moment, and maybe this is a difference between seeing it locally and seeing it nationally, is that I think locally there is an appreciation, there's a gratitude, in some ways maybe a little bit of a defense mechanism, because nationally what's starting to happen is that where people are starting to put together narratives surrounding Kansas City that are classic examples of missing the forest through the trees, right? Being reductive about what took place on Saturday and acknowledging or trying to make this about the referees and not about the execution of the Chiefs. So probably 20 years from now, we'll have a much clearer view of how special and brilliant this run is. It obviously is ongoing. It may continue for several more years after this. We also, it might be that you start to get cold for a few years and they don't play in the AFC Championship game for 2 seasons or something. So you don't want to overlook just how incredibly special this run is. Though I do think it's pretty tough to do in the moment, just because we are humans and we are always geared towards the aspiration of winning whatever it is that means most to a particular fan base. And in Kansas City, obviously, that is a Super Bowl championship.
Field Yates is our guest. I mean, clearly people that have been watching the Chiefs all year, and we've watched, every play of the Chiefs, and see the plays where, a bad call goes against them or whatever that might be throughout the game. And so, there's a lot of people that scoff at the notion of that. But as you look at this team and through 19 games that the Chiefs have played with Patrick Mahomes in the postseason, him being 16-3, what is it? Is there an overwhelming or an overriding theme as to why this team is winning a number of these games and some teams aren't winning these games? Is there something you can point to say, yeah, this is the differentiator as to why the Chiefs find themselves in a lot of one-score games along the way in the playoffs field, in a number of games where they had to make crucial drives and had to have it, and they find a way to get it done? Is there an element there that you point to and say, yeah, this is what's different from them than what we've seen before?
Yeah, I'll start here. I think there are people that might disagree with this notion. I tend to believe that clutch is a little bit of a gene, or it's at least a trait that can be developed in players. My scouting days, we used to call it clutch production, and it was often associated with quarterbacks and how they performed either in clutch situations like 2-minute drives or trailing late in the game, even if it wasn't a 2-minute scenario, or facing off against superlative competition, or playing well in a game in which their defense did not hold up its end of the bargain. I think the Chiefs are littered with clutch players. I think some of them have that sort of naturally, it's inherent within their life, their skill set. I think some of them have been kind of hardened by the experience they've been able to gain over these past few years. And on the one hand, it's a little bit daunting when you have a team that has to replace so many players through the draft because it gets expensive to keep everybody. On the other hand, if you can get those guys to the postseason and keep their confidence above water, then what happens is you've got these guys who enter the NFL as 4th or 7th round picks who shouldn't be ready-made starters for the best team in the sport, and yet they stick around as starters, and then after they get through it once, they say, why can't I keep going back for more? So I feel like the Chiefs have an inherent confidence edge over really every team that they play, and then I just think they're smarter. They play better, smarter playoff football. I don't think we talk as much about the stark difference between regular season football and playoff football as we do in other sports. I think the NBA is probably where it's most notorious, where like the style is just so different, and the idea of beating the team 4 times in 7 games is so different than beating them once on a random Tuesday night after one team has played a game the night before and the other team's been off for 3 days. Like in the NFL, there is a stylistic difference as well. And of late for the Chiefs, and especially so far this year, they just don't beat themselves. And we see far too many examples of teams in the playoffs beating themselves with costly errors, mostly penalties and turnovers. And those are the kind of things that end up being the difference between a team advancing and a team, playing golf this week because they did not find a way to win.
Yeah, it was an interesting stat that over the weekend, the 4 winning teams combined for 0 turnovers and the 4 losing teams combined for 10 turnovers. I mean, is it as easy as that and simple as that?
Well, Texans fans would say, no. It's, we didn't have a turnover.
Yeah, it was 0-0. You're right. Yeah.
But it's 8 sacks, 2 missed field goals. One of them, the 55-yarder. That's probably not a right in general. Like probably it's a bad decision to go for it. And second, I don't think 55-yard field goals when you're playing, outdoors in January and bitterly cold is like a guarantee no matter what. So really, I would say, the Texans didn't have any turnovers, but they had a turnover on downs and they had a short field goal that they missed, right? An extra point, there was just all kinds of stuff that just, those are the kind of things that in aggregate, kind of become the equivalent of turnovers. But yes, I mean, just generally speaking, you protect your quarterback, you don't turn the football over. I just think you have a chance, and it's not necessarily going to be the most aesthetically pleasing. I think some people want every game in the playoffs to be won by scoring 35 points or more. That's no longer what the Chiefs are, and it doesn't really matter because, they've got 2 more games, one of which is going to be played at home to secure their 3rd straight Super Bowl victory, something that has not been done in the Super Bowl era.
Yeah, it's interesting when we sort of look at teams that can beat themselves and teams that don't beat themselves. The Chiefs don't typically beat themselves, and obviously in the postseason they've only had 3 of those losses with Patrick Mahomes. And against the Cincinnati Bengals in the AFC Championship game that they lost, they did a pretty decent job of beating themselves with the play right before half, the 2 interceptions for Patrick Mahomes in the second half, some of the questionable decisions that were there. That was a rough second half for Mahomes, and I still continue to say that I do think the Monstars went into halftime and grabbed whatever powers, and then he turned into a pumpkin there for some reason. But since that game on January 30th of 2022, we're now 3 years later. They have yet to lose a playoff game, and he's got 14 touchdowns and 1 interception in his career in the postseason since that second half against the Bengals. And that sort of goes to your point that the Chiefs can win some of these close games, but they're also not having a player turn the ball over with interceptions, and Mahomes did have the fumble lost against the Bengals in the AFC Championship game the next year, but that was when he tried to throw the ball. It was so cold and it just slipped out of his hands backwards. It was recovered by Sam Hubbard. That happens; those things take place, but they were able to overcome those. And I don't know. A lot of it is they don't beat themselves. Other teams do beat themselves. But then they also have that clutch, ability to when they need to go and get points, they find a way to go and get points. And you combine those things, and it's why they've, been 16-3 over these 19 games that Mahomes has been the starter in the playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy to think, but the last time the Bills and the Chiefs played, which feels like a long time ago, at least to me, that was the last time the Chiefs turned the football over.
Yeah.
They've got 8 straight games. It's literally never been done before. 8 straight games in the Super Bowl era to go 8 straight without a turnover. So Tom Brady was talking about this on the broadcast on Saturday night, and obviously Tom's probably the closest thing that we have to Patrick in terms of this kind of sustained success. And he was talking about how Bill Belichick used to nail. I think this may have been right after the Lions were called for 12 men on defense on a 4th and 2 play from the 5, which gave them half the distance to the goal, which in turn gave them first and goal, and it was a pivotal play. And Tom was talking about how Belichick used to just like completely bang them over the heads with the idea that until we realize how to not lose games, we can't win games. And the Chiefs have mastered that formula. They don't beat themselves. They just don't. If you're going to go to Arrowhead and win, you're going to have to beat the Chiefs. You're going to have to find a way to slow down the offense. You're going to have to find a way to solve the riddle that is the defense. And obviously it's a significant test on Sunday. The Bills are an excellent team who really the only team to beat the Chiefs this year. The Broncos in Week 18 I don't really count as the same thing, given all the starters who did not play. That being said, it's a massive test for Buffalo. I mean, a team who deserves to be there, no question, on Sunday, but they understand that it's not going to be the exact way it was when they played, I guess, 10 or 11 weeks ago now, because this Chiefs team just does not ever let themselves down. They just don't.
Yeah, they were -1 in turnovers that day. Kelsey, I think, had like 3 catches for 20 yards. There was a different left tackle. Hollywood didn't play. Pacheco wasn't out there, even though I think Kareem Hunt has been certainly better. Jalen Watson wasn't out there, and he's back and played 40 snaps. So, it's certainly some things with the Bills as well. So it's not like, the Bills are worse than they were there. They're playing in the AFC Championship game. I mean, everybody here that's playing this weekend is deserving and has proved it along the way, whether that be regular season or the last couple of weeks for the Commanders and Eagles and Bills. This is now another matchup with Patrick Mahomes and Josh Allen. There are 2 quarterbacks in the NFL that have won at least one postseason game for 5 straight years, Field, and that's the 2 quarterbacks that'll be matching up on Sunday night. Are we watching the modern day, Brady, Peyton, some of these great quarterback matchups, and either the quarterbacks play the defense on the other side, but it's the heavyweights and the top billing for the marquee. Are we watching this next great 2 amazing quarterbacks that go back and forth? That so far Mahomes has had the upper hand in some really close games. 2 of the 3 have been really close. The other one in the AFC Championship game wasn't as close.
Yeah, I think that's probably what's going to stop me a little short of saying that we've reached that level, just because it needs to be a little bit more balanced for me to kind of think of it in that same light. Now, obviously, Tom Brady did have the upper hand from any of the Patriots, and mostly Patriots-Colts, but then also Patriots-Broncos playoff matches. But Peyton Manning did get him a couple times, so I do think that's the key critical difference here. The other thing that I would not ignore is that it's possible we get a lot more of these going forward, but we are in an AFC where, I would argue the 4 best quarterbacks in the NFL are all AFC teams. Mahomes, choose the order behind Patrick. Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, Joe Burrow. You can debate it until the end of time, but really those 3 are just exceptional. And so it's possible that, next year it's Chiefs Bengals in the AFC Championship game or something of that variety. So, but yes, I mean, but the big thing for Josh and Lamar and Joe, but Joe obviously not making the playoffs this year has removed him a tiny bit from this conversation, is that, I think I was reminded of this yesterday watching the Ravens go home is, I think the MVP is valuable. I mean, it's the most prestigious individual on-field award in the league, and it definitely shows you. I mean, being a 3-time MVP coincides with a ton of wins for the Ravens, but at some point the goal is no longer that for Lamar Jackson. And, Patrick, who knows how many MVPs will end up winning for his career, but one thing that's evident to me is he's completely unbothered by that number relative to the number of Super Bowl wins. And I'm not saying that Lamar prioritizes MVP wins over the Super Bowl wins. I just think the reality is that the standard that we're going to measure these guys by is going to be postseason success, and Patrick is lapping the field several times over in that regard in the AFC and really the entire NFL right now, because no one is even close to his level of playoff success that is currently playing.
What's the better storyline for you for winning the Super Bowl? Is it a three-peat for the Chiefs, Buffalo finally breaking through and getting one, or rookie quarterback Jalen Daniels takes a 4-win team and wins the Super Bowl in his first year?
Oh, geez. I don't even know. I'm gonna abstain from voting on that one there.
Oh, good.
You know, I don't know that I have to think about that
Yeah.
one before I really took a gander at or took an actual pass at voting there. It really is pretty compelling. The Eagles fans are probably like, "What about us?
Yeah,
What's our
I
storyline?"
just don't know that there's a compelling storyline if the Eagles win. You know, I mean, I don't know.
Oh,
Maybe
man,
there is. I mean,
the NFL. If the Eagles win, the Giants are forced to do a second season of off-season Hard Knocks.
I was going to say, would it be the Giants and Saquon kind of having his?
yeah, I mean, it would be there would be some storylines, but I think it would pale in comparison to those top three, right?
We're
I
searching for
think
one,
that's all fair. Yes, 100%. Yeah, Buffalo. You know, they turned the city upside down. The Commanders, who not just having a rookie quarterback coming off of a 4-win season, but 30-plus year playoff drought, and then enduring what was a quarter century of not just ineptitude at ownership, but actually damaging ownership under Daniel Snyder. So, and then 3-time Super Bowl champions. I maybe this is boring, but I just appreciate greatness, and I love I love watching guys who are at the top of their profession, and I enjoy and appreciate how difficult it is to sustain that success. So I'm going to pass from voting. I'm going to think about that one a whole lot more for the rest of the day.
All right, two quick ones for you. You had Chiefs over Lions in the Super Bowl. So as we continue along the way, who do you got now?
Well, the easy part is the Chiefs, right? Because no need to switch from the stance that you've had since the offseason. And then I'm going to go with the Eagles, but man, do I feel unsure about that one. The Eagles are so much better defensively than the Lions, given the Lions' current health state, right? That just was, my colleague Bill Barnwell at one point posted a graphic on Twitter of their depth chart, and you're like, oh my God.
The visual is unbelievable.
It's ridiculous. It's like 5 of their top 20 defenders were still available. So it was in some ways not surprising that they struggled as much as they did defensively on Saturday night. But I'll stick with the Eagles over the Commanders. The Eagles are going to be a tough team to watch, right? They have so much talent and so much pedigree, and at their very best, they can be really good. And they can have games where it's like, God, they just sort of it's not as beautiful sometimes offensively as you wish it would be. That being said, they have a Chiefs-like quality to them in which – I was thinking about this when the Rams were playing in the fourth quarter. Is that I'm almost thinking tempo in terms of my offensive approach.
Right.
With 13 minutes left in the game, because the Eagles, if let's say you're down 14, you score with 10 minutes to go. Who's to say the Eagles don't just kill 8.5 minutes of clock and then punch it in with a push to put them back up with 2 scores, right? So. They do find a way. They're so physical at the point of attack, and they've got some individual talent that is really, really special as well.
Yeah, maybe the Rams waited too long to get tempo going against the Eagles because they looked different those last couple drives. All right, prediction on Sunday night, Chiefs and Bills. Right now, Chiefs are a 1.5 favorite in this game. How do you see the game playing out early in the week? I know not a lot of time for you to go and dive in and break it down, but early feels for this game, and if there's a score that's in mind still 6 days out.
Yeah, didn't I see the over-under was 45 or something like that? I think over at ESPN we had it somewhere in the 45, 47 range, somewhere around there. So that's it. I'm not expecting this to be 16-13 game. I'm thinking sort of 27-24 for the Chiefs, taking care of business and finding a way. And I don't know how many teams have done this. Obviously, the 1972 Miami Dolphins would be one, but the Chiefs, if they win on Sunday, would have a chance to defeat every team on their schedule at least once during the season, because they've already they beat the Broncos the first time around, so they 1-1 against Denver, and they would be 1-1 against Buffalo this season. So an opportunity to keep checking off some boxes on the to-do list for the Chiefs. I think they win. They find a way. 27-24 at home.
27-24. Yeah, at ESPN, the Chiefs are now 2-point favorites, so that line is moving towards the Chiefs, and it's 47.5. So you're right there with what the line was.
I've been checking it throughout the day. These things are constantly moving.
So 1.5, now up to 2 for the Chiefs. Field Yates from ESPN, NFL Insider. Field, you're the man as always. Really appreciate the time, brother. Enjoy the games on Sunday, and certainly we'll be watching with the commentary and breakdowns all week long leading into Championship Sunday. Thank you for the time, brother. Looking forward to our conversation next Monday.
Sounds good, my friend. Talk to you soon.
Absolutely. There's Field Yates, ESPN, NFL Insider. Great stuff from him. 27-24 Chiefs over Bills. when we first talked to him when the playoffs were set. He gave us his Super Bowl prediction, and at the beginning of the season, he had Chiefs over the Lions. He stayed with that, with the Lions losing, switches it to Chiefs over Eagles, although saying not as confident on the Eagles side of that selection, though the Eagles' defense is better than what Detroit was throwing out there because of all of the injured players. Yeah, if you have not seen that visual from Bill Barnwell on his Twitter account, maybe go and check it out, because the visual changes things. It absolutely, you can say all the injuries for the Lions, but then when you see what the week 1 depth chart was, and he's got a red line through all of the players that were not playing in the game against the Commanders, and it's crazy to think about. You got to go out there and field a team and field a defense against that Commanders team. But Jaden Daniels was just phenomenal in that game. Jared Goff was not good in that game. They turned the ball over a lot, and
not 1, not 2, 3.
Yeah. And the more premier playmaking quarterback ended up winning the game with a coach that's been to the Super Bowl before, in Dan Quinn, and they've turned that thing around there in Washington. I did love the stat that, well, you know what, I may save this for Learn Funniest Best.
By the way, if you're a Bears fan, this just has to be a huge kick in the stones.
Yeah.
Because
any fan of a downtrodden franchise.
Well, no. But not only have you had an opportunity for Patrick and you got Trubisky, you had a chance for Jaden Daniels and you got Caleb Williams. And that's...
I'm going to spare Bears fans a little bit with this, because the organization that we're starting to learn about that the Bears have, do we think that... I think Mahomes would be great. I'm not going to say he wouldn't be Mahomes and Jaden Daniels wouldn't be Jaden Daniels.
Agreed.
But surrounding cast and how they handle themselves.
Surrounding cast is better. If you're talking strictly players.
I'm talking about offensive line.
And also coaching.
I would say the Bears' offensive line is more talented than the Commanders.
But coaching matters,
I don't think anyone would say that. I think even the Bears front office would disagree.
I think because Caleb Williams thinks he's playing in the Pac-12 still.
It's a little bit of both. I think that giving a guy 1 year in the Bears organization is really tough.
I don't think he's a bust.
Oh, he stinks.
I'm not saying he's horrible. He's not Jaden Daniels.
We'll see.
They had no one said the Commanders were going to be good this year. They had their win total was 5 games.
I think I had them in the AFC or NFC Championship game.
Everyone was talking about the Bears. Look at all these weapons. Look, Keenan Allen, Roma Dunze.
They just didn't build a line.
Oh yeah, DJ Moore. They did. They've spent so much more on that offensive line than the Commanders have.
Spending money doesn't matter. I mean, Pittsburgh has the most expensive defense
but no
in the
disrespect
NFL.
to Andrew Wiley and Nick Allegretti. We're not talking about 2 perennial all-stars over here.
I mean, they ran up and down
Pro
the field.
Bowlers. Sorry, not baseball.
Sorry. This is one of those louder, not writer kind of things. So.
I will pull this up, dog. This is hilarious.
Brilliant.
If you think the Bears' offensive line is this train wreck, it's because you're watching Caleb Williams, who's a Pac-12 quarterback, think he's still in the Pac-12.
I'm just glad Jaden Daniels is in the NFC.
Yeah.
Let's just say that.
That's my point.
Can we all agree on that?
He is so much better than Caleb Williams. All I'm doing is feeling bad for
Caleb or Bears fans?
Bears fans.
In general?
Sorry. I mean...
Sorry, you're sorry, you know?
I'm really not sorry.
You shouldn't be. All right, we need to take a timeout. We'll come back.
Yeah, Andrew Wiley, 59th out of 81 tackles. It's great.
He's got that many tackles? That's pretty good.
Are we doing Bears players next?
Do you want to?
Yeah.
No, we're
Nick Allegretti, 46th out of 75.
Who's playing now?
We're gonna
think of who is playing in the playoffs.
Yes, because of the quarterback.
No, we're gonna pick and choose like referees and calls that do go against or
who has the better
favor of the
defense?
Chiefs. We're gonna play it that way.
Who has better weapons?
I don't know. I know one team I can judge on how good their defense is because they're still playing.
Yep.
And their quarterback's been awesome.
And their culture's better and their ownership's better now because they just got a new owner.
By the way, if you want to go Bears versus Washington offensive line, if you want to go by PFF dog, you were about to get waxed.
Is there a PFF dog out there?
Well, that's how they vote on the Hall of Fame.
The worst
PFF
ranked player on the offensive line for the Bears is 21st out of 75th. Worst ranked, left guard 14th, left tackle 20th, center 14th, right tackle 16th, right guard 21st. You want to go Washington's? You don't want to do this.
Do we have playoff?
You don't want to do
rankings
this.
and
I
team
can't.
rankings?
I can't find my offensive.
You don't want to do this, Dylan.
Positional success rate. I've been looking for it to find the offensive line ranked.
Here's Washington's left tackle 60th, left guard 46th, center 12th, Right guard, one of the worst in football. Right tackle, 59th.
Who's playing?
This is my point.
Okay, yeah.
It's Jaden Daniels.
Commanders is
not Caleb Williams. Oh my goodness. Am I talking to a wall?
No, I don't think so.
No, you're just like leaving out like Cliff Kingsbury and offensive coordinating and coaching.
Now
and
the goal line's
system
getting
and-
moved.
No,
But
I'm
that's
just,
what I said. That's what I was talking about. I was talking about coaching, culture, all of it. With the
Dylan
Bears
immediately
is
went to
better.
offensive line, and so I brought up. Well, now I'm not talking offensive line. So you're not talking defense. You're not talking wide
Well,
receivers.
Dylan started
You're
with
not
the
talking
culture.
offensive line.
Dylan started with the culture. I will give him that. But
What are we doing here? How many more goalposts have to be moved before we just admit that Bears fans should be sad that Jaden Daniels is much better than Caleb?
I just don't know if we can say that yet. That's all I'm saying.
can't find the damn success rate by position. I'll look in the break. We'll hear from Andy Reid as well. We'll get his thoughts on the Commanders' offensive line versus the Bears. I'm sure somebody will ask him that. If not, then it's a derelict of duty by the media out there, because these are the things we get to the bottom of here in the zone. Mick Schaefer will join us coming up at 1 o'clock, KSHB 41 sports director. He was out there Saturday freezing his tail off.
What's his PFF grade?
Matthew Sterling Holmes, Dylan Michaels. We'll hear from Mick Schaefer coming up in the 1 o'clock hour. Let's hear from Andy Reid as he talked today in his press conference getting ready for what we now know is the Buffalo Bills after that game last night. The Bills winning by 2 points and securing the onside kick after the dropped 2-point conversion, winning that game and getting ready for the AFC Championship game coming up Sunday, 5:30. We've got coverage starting at 8 o'clock in the morning for you all day long, including the doubleheader, including the Chiefs. Kevin Harlan on the call with Westwood One, and then our post-game with Jack Johnson after it is over. Here is Andy Reid. Adam Teicher asked Andy Reid about how impressed he is with Steve Spagnuolo's ability to make the right blitz calls.
I get to see him all week, so it's not a surprise on game day. He does a heck of a job of knowing when to use the different blitzes, and that's half the battle. It's not how much you blitz; it's just how you utilize the blitzes and when you utilize them. So he's got a great feel for that.
Yeah, how did he get that touch for doing that? And I know you had to coach against him. I know it's been a while now, but you coached against him before. What's it like calling plays against his defenses?
Yeah, so it's obviously tough. I mean, he gives you a lot of different looks. Matt Nagy will tell you that when you talk to him. He more recently has gone against him, and so he's tough to go against with the different combinations that he has. So he does a heck of a job with it.
I mean, we talked about it late in the game, in that set of downs, when the Houston Texans ended up turning the ball over on downs with the George Karlaftis sack. They got that long pass to Nico Collins when Chris Jones pressured Stroud. Stroud made a fantastic play and a great throw to Nico Collins right in the middle of 3 Chiefs defenders. He had to throw it before Collins had even broken out of his route and put it right there. But the next 3 plays, it was an incomplete pass, swing pass to Joe Mixon, which was an outlet because nobody was covered, and eventually he started getting pressured. So he threw it to an outlet in Joe Mixon, who was covered, and Drew Tranquil was there, but he overthrew him. The next one was an unblocked blitzing Nick Bolton, which is where C.J. Stroud just lofted the ball to the right side, just threw it up in the air, and the wide receiver turned around and almost one-hand caught it. Brian Cook was there. That was on 2nd down. 3rd down was Justin Reed blitzing right up the middle, unblocked, and Stroud had to throw it at the feet of the running back. And then they decide on 4th down they're going to rush and decide late to go for it, and they rush to the line of scrimmage, which means they don't have time to really set the protection the way that it should be set. And Spags brings a blitz, and because of the way they slide the protection to the right with the blitz, it leaves Dalton Schultz one-on-one with George Karlaftis. And George Karlaftis gets the sack because of the previous 2 blitzes, and at that time the offensive line saying they are blitzing again. They're here, they're showing it, they are blitzing. We've got to slide our coverage, our protection this way. They did blitz, by the way. He brought 3 guys, and Karlaftis got there. So, yeah, he's been dialing them up and doing it at the right time, and it was a big reason why the Chiefs ended up winning. Sam McDowell asked Andy Reid about his decision-making process on going for the 4th down in the game against Houston.
Yeah, I thought we did a good job with the execution. We've tried to stay aggressive on 4th down within reason throughout the season, but that was the idea behind it. The execution of the play, I thought we blocked it well, which ends up being important. And then the ability of Kareem to kind of bounce off of things and his lateral cutting ability there.
Speaking of that, just wondered if you could, how have you just seen him embrace short yardage situations as a whole? I mean, I know that's been his reputation, but particularly this year, just how good he's been in short yardage for you.
Yeah, he's done a nice job for us. Kareem is a big kid, and he's got a good low center of gravity, and he's got great vision and lateral cutting ability. So that fits in well with your short yardage game. Usually, Sam, there's not a lot of space in there normally, and so for you to be able to squeeze through those tight holes and he does a good job with it. He has a knack of being able to kind of cut his body in half sideways by going sideways and still moving forward.
If you want to see exactly what Andy Reid is talking about in terms of him being able to slide in between those tight holes at the line of scrimmage, then I tweeted out a video of Kareem Hunt late in the game when they were running the ball to end the game, and he broke free for like a 15-yard run there, and it looks like he's going to head right between Creed Humphrey and Joe Thuney, and it looks like there's space to run through it. And he gets to that hole, and then he stops, and he jump cuts to the left. But as he's stopping, because he's heading right to there, the linebacker, in which Caliendo was gone to the second level, the linebacker then gets around Caliendo to go to that spot. And if Kareem Hunt runs forward, the linebacker meets him. And it might have been Shair, I'm not sure. The linebacker meets Kareem Hunt in the hole. Instead, somehow, because it was behind Joe Thuney and Caliendo, he stops there, cuts to his left, and barely a hole opens up between Thuney and Travis Kelce that wasn't there because Kelce and Tooney's backs were to each other and they were touching as they were blocking. But as Kareem Hunt skips to his left, the hole barely opens up and he slides through it with really no space whatsoever. And then he gets past the second level because that linebacker had already reacted to thinking he was going to go straight ahead. And I don't know what Pacheco would have done, okay? My guess is Pacheco would have ran straight ahead, would have seen that sliver of light and said, boom, that's where I'm supposed to go. This is the play. And Kelce and Joe Thuney are touching their backs. There's no hole over there. That guy's got the edge sealed. He set the edge. I've got to go straight here and get as many yards as I can. Might have been a 3 or 4 yard gain. All right, nice pickup. Kareem got 15 out of it. And that 4th down and 1, when, they're at the 37-yard line, that was huge. They're up by 1 point at that time. Starts the fourth quarter, they're up by 1. And if you watch that, Trey Smith gets moved backwards by the defensive line. And Kareem Hunt has to slide to the right of Trey Smith back at like the 39-yard line. He's got to get to the 35. And then he makes contact with the Houston Texans defenders at the 37. At the 37, he makes contact with them. 2 guys are there. And yet, he's so good at hitting and then spinning back and his momentum carry. And so he hits the guy, spins back, and he picks up 3 yards on that. They needed 1. They picked up 3. He's made such a difference. And by the way, that goes back to that Buffalo game earlier in the season when there were so many plays that happened along the way that you say, man, if this happened or that happened, it's a lot of ifs as to why the Chiefs lost by 9. One of those was 3rd and 1 in their own territory, handed off to Kareem Hunt, and he was stuffed, and they had to go 3 and out. And they punted. And I noted it at the time on my notes watching the game, said, I don't remember seeing that all season, where Kareem Hunt got stuffed at the line of scrimmage when he needed 1 yard. Because he typically does what he did on 4th down. He's that good, and he's such a weapon to have. Does that happen again this weekend if they need a yard? I'll take my chances on Kareem Hunt picking it up and the Bills getting what they needed at that time, but one of those savor the flavor because I don't know that it's going to happen again. Andy Reid says that there will be plenty of things that have changed from the first matchup, but there are certainly things that won't.
Yeah, so one of the things we'll keep working on is you've got to be able to get off the field on 3rd downs. I mean, we keep stressing that. Steve does, and so we've got to you've got to be able to take care of those 3rd downs, especially when you've worked so hard to put yourself in a good position. So, and they do it. Listen, the Bills do a heck of a job with that. They're really good football team offensively.
We'll go next to Pete Sweeney. Pete?
Coach, Jalen Watson returned. It looked like you guys might have been limiting his snaps. How did he come out of the game, and you feel like you'll be able to kind of increase that as we go here?
Hey, I actually came out feeling good, Pete. I mean, it was that's one of the positives that you come out with Jalen. He's he was fresh from the injury, and you hope that he can not have the swelling that was taking place before, and still function at a relatively high speed during the game. And, I thought he did that. I thought he sustained when given that opportunity.
We asked on Friday which cornerback would have the second most snaps in the game. None of us took Jalen Watson.
I took Joshua Williams, who
I
didn't
took
play
Joshua
a
Williams,
single
too.
snap.
I took Joshua Williams. Did you take Jalen Watson, Dylan? My bad.
I think I did.
Dylan did. He's a
My
smart
bad.
one.
I didn't write it
Besides
down.
Bears talk.
I was waiting for Mick to answer, so I ignored what Dylan said. Sorry about that.
Par for the course, then.
Yeah, well done. He played 40 snaps in the game. 60% of the game, Jalen Watson was out there. Just unfreaking real. Andy Reid continued, and certainly talking about Travis Kelce, and says that Travis just seems to have that extra gear in the postseason.
That's a good question by him. I'm happy for him with the 7 catches and all that. But I think more of it is just we've got a variety of guys around him. I mean, the opportunities that he's had, he's done well with, and I don't think it's his play that has been reduced. Everybody asks about by age or physical ability or anything. I just think that you've got a variety of guys that we've been able to use around him, and when we didn't, then teams were ganging up on him. So it's a good problem now because guys are healthy and we've got choices out there, and they can't really just focus on him.
And the follow-up, Andy, is I know you're big on the guys who are energy givers, and I assume Travis is one of the biggest of the energy givers. But I wonder if you could just describe how infectious that is and how it resonates with his teammates.
Yeah, but it's not only his energy; it's that positive mindset that you can do anything, and I think he does a great job of that, and being able to show it to the guys that, listen, we come together the right way, anything's possible. So that's the thing I appreciate him the most. I also appreciate that at his age he goes out there every day and practices hard. I mean, and if you try to take him out, he gets mad at you. So I think that's a special thing, for an older player.
He's been just brilliant in the playoffs, just unbelievably brilliant in the playoffs. Travis Kelce has, and 14 straight games where he's had at least 70 yards receiving in the playoffs. Just it's just unreal. Andy Reid continued as Matt Derrick asked about McCole Hardman's practice window ending this week.
Yeah, we'll see how that goes here. Just I haven't made any decisions on that yet, Matt. So, but he's worked hard to try to get himself back and get going. But we'll see how that works out.
And I'm curious on just additional watch. What you thought about the offensive line play on Saturday, and especially the left tackle spot.
Yeah, first I'd give credit to the Texans. I mean, that defense is a good defense, real good defense, and that defensive line is a big challenge, as it will be this week. This defensive line likewise is a big challenge. So, but I thought our guys held up well against them, and we did some good things in the run game, and did some good things in our play pass game. So we were decent on third down. So I think all around it was good against who we were playing against.
Shout out to the Texans defense. I mean, they had a different game than what they showed the first go around.
Yeah.
They played, their front was much better this time than it was the first time they played. So, they made adjustments. They came in playing differently. I don't know, confidence-wise, Al-Shaair didn't play in that first game. Maybe that's what it was. Maybe it's a difference of that. Who knows? Although playing in this game maybe didn't help him since he lost Travis Kelce twice, one on the touchdown and one on the 49-yard catch, which resulted in their first touchdown. So both those plays on Al-Shaair were touchdown drives for the Chiefs. Nick Jacobs asked Andy Reid about how much Kareem Hunt has grown throughout his career.
Yeah, Nick. I mean, he's able to speak up now because he's been there. He's got that senior leadership thing going, and so as much of an energy giver as we were just talking about Trav, Kareem does the same thing. He brings it a little different way, but he brings it, that toughness, that you get he and Pacheco out there. I mean, there's a whole lot of energy coming off of those two. So, and that's appreciated. But that's probably where I tell you, he doesn't feel like the young guy on the team anymore. He's the veteran guy. And he knows guys will listen to him, and he can help set a tempo, all those things, Nick, that comes with being a veteran.
And then for like DeAndre, Hollywood, Kareem, and some of those rookies, what does it mean to you as a coach to kind of give them this moment to where they do get to play in an AFC Championship game, and no matter what happens, they have that on their bucket list checked off type of thing?
Yeah, Nick, that's kind of a neat deal. DeAndre, I mean, he's been doing it 12 years. And so I said, hey, you never been to this one, have you? And he said, no. But it's, and we're able to go against a real good football team here. And so that competition level will be at its highest point. That's why we're all in this thing. So for him to have that opportunity to experience that part, as great as he is, to even be able to have to take it up one more notch is something that'll be new for him. So I think that's a great thing for the young guys. It'll be a good experience for them going forward, and they can learn from it. And we'll tell them what it's all about. The players will tell them what it's all about. But until you get out there and feel that energy, you really don't know. But it'll be good for them to get through it.
Coach, on that front, this round of the playoffs, the Bills are their second chance to try to get you guys in this round. You didn't get through right away at Philadelphia. What is it about this round? I know you're playing a good team, but is there anything else about this round that is special over the others?
Yeah, well, the fact that we're at home is a real positive, I think. We've got to play well. I know, whether we're favored or not favored, I don't know. I presume they'll probably be favored, but that's all right. We do our thing as we go into this, and we don't worry about all that noise. So, but it's a high level of football, and you've got to handle it that way. I mean, you get to test yourself, and at close to the highest level. Besides Super Bowl, this is the highest level. So I think that's kind of what it's all about for coaches and players.
They'll be tested, no doubt. The Bills coming up on Sunday. Last one, real quick. Go ahead.
I have a very fun statistic that I'm going to bring up for what I learned for
Nice.
Learn Funniest
Great.
Bet, and it's regards to the
That-
Chiefs
okay.
and the Bills. It'll be
Great.
fun.
Last but not least, Soren asked Andy about the play of the defensive line down the stretch.
Yeah, sure. Now, Spag's done a good job. We talked about that. But the players also have to step up. And that's what the guys have done a nice job with. I'm so proud of them for that. Joe Cullen does a heck of a job with that defensive line. And George had a big day, just being as relentless as he is and how much work he puts into the game and making sure he's physically right and so on. It's a real tribute to him and his effort. And then Charles, it's been great to have Charles in there. I don't think you're missing a point there at all. He's a good passer. He's a good football player. So that helps a lot to have him in there. And Chris Jones likewise, and Mike, who doesn't get any of the glory. He's a good football player too. So he kind of does the dirty work. So doesn't get much praise for it.
And then finally, Coach, we hear a lot about like the middle eight, last 4 minutes of the first half versus 4 minutes of the second half. I mean, the Texans really got a dream scenario. They basically had the ball for 15 minutes of game time there. I'm just, on the offensive side, you guys, a lot of times that could seemingly, make you cold, rusty at halftime. And then I think it was maybe more than an hour before the offense really got to go out there and execute. Yet you came out and went down the field. What are you doing during all that time? What do you do to keep everybody focused, sharp, and make sure that the Texans aren't basically icing your offense?
Yeah, it was a pretty cold day too. That well used words there. So the guys they stay focused and they have a purpose coming out that second half, which is important. That's something that we've worked on here this season. We weren't very good at that beginning of the season, and we tried to really focus in on that. Whether that's staying warm and loose and all that, that's also part of it. But staying in tune with the game, I think, is big. And yeah, the 15 play drives and 14 play drives back to back used up a lot of time for both teams. So, but I'm glad we were able to put it together. I appreciate the focus that went into it, I guess, to answer your question, and that covers a lot of space when you use that word. But the guys they kept themselves ready to go.
All right, there is Andy Reid. We'll take a timeout, come back, continue rolling more Zone next. first of the hour. Get his thoughts on if he has warmed up, if he has thawed out since last night, how proficient he has become in gloves off and on during the postgame. Thought that was cool. So we'll get his thoughts on those things. Of course, the national championship coming up tonight. We'll weigh in on what we think about the game. Is it Ohio State? Is it Notre Dame? Mizzou's in the top 25. Finally, Mick Schaefer came around and decided to rank them in the top 25. Good for him. Finally.
Top 15, baby.
He's in the top 15. He's got him in the top 15. How about that? They're number 22, I think. So, got that going for you. There you go. One more hour to go. More's on next. Did it make you warm now?
Nope. No, it's I talked to a doctor. It's going to be another couple weeks.
Okay.
So even if it's 40 out on Sunday, for me it's going to feel like 15.
I get it.
Yeah. Still not
'cause
there.
Your blood is not going to be able to
No,
recover
we can't
yet.
expect it.
Although it is expected to be like
Pretty
a
old.
balmy mid-30s.
That's what I'm saying. It could be
Like-
almost 40.
No weather impact. Knock on wood. I mean, who knows what could happen over the course of 6 days? But
Gary Lezak told me once, outside of 72 hours, we're all just guessing.
although last week at this time it was like, hey, it could be really, really freaking cold for the Chiefs and
Yeah,
Texans
they
game.
know, and most of the time, yeah.
Gary Lezak also said, if you want to know the weather, just look outside.
He did.
Which is great. So I'm like, well, then why
That's right.
what about your job?
Yes.
So do you not want to have a
It's true.
job?
If you want to know the sports, don't wait for the news. Get on your phone. God.
That's exactly right. If you want to know the real story of the NFL, just get on Twitter and you'll
That's
find
it.
out there's only one reason Patrick Mahomes is 16-3 in the playoffs.
The refs, the NFL has gotten together,
yes,
and decided that it wants both of their New York teams to be trash,
and Dallas,
and they want Dallas. I heard. Oh, should that be my learn? I got another learn. That's fine.
Yeah,
or that could be the funniest. Whatever. It's the learn funniest best of. There's only one NFC team who hasn't made an NFC championship game since 2000, and it's the Dallas Cowboys.
Was that one of your learned or funniest best, Dylan?
Oh, I'm sorry,
No,
Dylan.
it's okay. I got a couple for,
Okay, good.
for learned. So that
Yeah.
was one that is
Yeah.
a good one.
There's plenty of there are a lot of learns out there, a lot of stats, a lot of funny things, stats that are out there.
But I don't know where I was going with that. Oh, but yes, they decided that they want their New York
Yes.
teams to be trash, their LA teams to be mid.
Yeah.
Okay. And they want like their sixth smallest market to dominate for the better part of a decade and a half. Nobody's won more games in the
Yeah.
NFL last 15 years. Yeah, that's what they decided.
Yeah, mid-30s TV market. We need to go ahead
That's
and
it.
make that the
That's it.
the
Center
team
of
we have
the
a
football
conspiracy
universe.
You know how
on.
31 other franchises now hate Kansas City?
Yeah.
You know what's good for marketing and business?
What?
Catering to the one.
Yeah.
I've always been told when
Yes.
when I went to college and did my marketing degree, I was told cater to the
Yeah,
one.
that's exactly
right.
Get that market share.
Yes.
Bleep the 31 else.
Here's the problem, and I would love for this to happen. The Chiefs play too many primetime games. They're standalone games. Everybody's watching them. And then these dumb people who don't realize there are bad calls every game. There are soft calls. They're protecting the quarterback for every team, every single game. No, the majority of what they see are the Chiefs and Mahomes, and they have these awful takes, and I got to hear them. I knew it. I knew it, especially after the second call, the late slide in the third quarter. I'm like, okay.
I got a
here
really
we
good.
go. Doesn't matter. It was on first down. It was on first down, and he got positive yardage.
Yeah,
he got like 5
It was
yards.
2nd and 6.
No, it's first down call.
No, but it would have been
After
second and 6.
Yes,
It would have been 2nd and 6 when they got the call.
Yes.
So they got 15
in
yards.
the
out of,
third quarter,
dude. What? Oh,
Because
no.
that's the other. It's the timing of the calls, guys. Really, it was the first quarter, and granted, it was third down on a borderline call. I'm with you. That kept alive a scoring drive of 3 points in the first quarter. Okay, is that the timing you're talking about? Was the refs right then and there, and then a third quarter drive on a first down run for positive yardage? That was the reason.
I had someone message me and goes, I can't wait. They must have been a Bills person, or they want the Bills to win. They go, I can't wait for Josh Allen to get drilled, and then Mahomes gets touched, and there'll be a roughing the passer against Mahomes. I go, just so you know,
Alex
Josh Allen
gets
has
more.
roughing the
more,
passer
several
calls
more.
than Patrick. I've yet to hear the response though.
No, it's
I've yet to.
Oh, my God.
To hear the rebuttal about facts.
Yes.
But the anecdotal, that one time that he saw Mahomes get a
Yes.
penalty, that apparently outweighs the actual
but by the way,
mountain.
I
of,
do
of
love
facts.
the people saying the NFL and the flopping problem and look at Mahomes who didn't get the flag on the attempted flop.
Right. He didn't get it.
He didn't get if he got the flag, I would agree. And I didn't like the attempted flop. I hated it. I wish he wouldn't
I
have
just
done
hate
it.
that it's the lasting image.
Oh, that's right.
of
It's
Patrick
the,
Mahomes.
yeah, Brett
to be
Coleman, the
honest.
lasting image of Patrick Mahomes in the
called him
game.
that?
Dude's got like he's
Bert Coleman.
Yeah, Bert. Bert.
I like Bert.
Bert.
That's like my favorite Green Bay sign when Brett came back to town with the Vikings. Oh, we'll never forget you, Bert. Is the
Yeah, Brett Coleman has 161,000 followers. He's the creator of the Film Room on YouTube. He breaks down a lot of film in the NFL, and I follow him. He's pretty good, but he tweeted out, a picture and said, bad roughing calls happen, but this lasting image right here, and it's a picture of Mahomes, unbecoming of the guy who's supposed to be the face of the sport. The league has to make flopping a foul or guys will keep doing it. It's not fair to defenders that QBs can have their cake and eat it too. That's what he said is the lasting image there, even though the very next play was the 3rd and 11 throw to Travis Kelce for the touchdown. Literally, the very next play was Mahomes almost parallel with the ground.
Yeah. Throwing
a dart.
That's the lasting
between the 8 and the 7. The lasting image is Mahomes being pushed out of bounds. That didn't get a call.
The non-penalty that was called a non-penalty is somehow the lasting image. No, whatever Bert's name is, the lasting image will be Mahomes hoisting the 3rd straight
that'll be the lasting
Lombardi. I'm going to go ahead and say, Bert, that will be the lasting image.
Yeah, I follow. He's really good. I just some other people said that he's a big Texans fan. I'm like, well, that's fine, but still, like, I don't know if he is or not. I only watch the film breakdowns. I don't watch, the things that may be. So I don't know if that's true or not. It may be. It may not be. But even if you are, like, that's not the lasting image of that game. Lasting image of that game is
C.J. Stroud getting planted by George Karlaftis,
right.
Leo Chanel blocking the field goal attempt.
Here's the thing.
Matt Ariza safety.
Here's the thing, and this is what I hate getting into the conversation about, but it's still like we're screaming at clouds because we're speaking to the choir, right? We're preaching to the choir on this one, but the commentary coming out of that game is
Mix a soprano, by the way.
Oh, nice.
He can
Okay,
really
very
get
good.
He can get those high notes. Yeah.
You got to be up here, Mick.
Gotta be there, gotta be here. What if I want to go down here?
Wow, that was nice.
Wish it was something less serious. So the lasting commentary coming out of that game, and the lasting image apparently, is like all this conversation about, oh, it's the refs, it's the refs, it's the refs. And it's the refs was based on 2 calls, right?
Yep.
2 calls. The roughing the passer on the Chiefs' second drive,
yes,
which was 3rd down. I wasn't a fan of the call. I know that there's a lot of people defending it.
They reviewed it, by the way.
Walt Anderson defended it. Walt Anderson also said that if there is no contact to the head, then the replay assist can come down and take the penalty off the board. But because there was, stop me if you've not heard this, contact to the actual head from Will Anderson, I still wasn't a fan of the call, okay? Right. The Chiefs, here's why I wasn't a fan of either call. Because if it went against the Chiefs, I'd be pretty pissed. I'd be pretty upset that
you got to put yourself in the other team's shoes on both of those.
Yes.
I thought, okay, I would be mad.
I'd be mad if that was it. I wasn't a fan of either of those calls.
But if you watch, that happens to Aiden O'Connell, right? He'll get that call. I mean, if you watch any of these other games.
In fact, To'o, what is his name?
Henry
Tutu.
Henry To'o. Toa. That's what Isaiah likely had too big of. And they lost that game earlier in week 1. He's lucky his teammate came and collided with him, because if his teammate wasn't there, it would be even more of him making helmet-to-helmet contact. Mm-hmm. He made helmet-to-helmet contact, but his teammate then hit his helmet off of Mahomes. It knocked his helmet off of Mahomes. If the teammate wasn't there, it would have been more of him laying his helmet onto Patrick Mahomes. Again, I'm not a fan of that call. Mahomes slid late. I'm not a fan of it. I certainly am not a fan of Mahomes flopping. But here's the deal. It's the second drive of the game, and people are complaining about that play. It's in the 3rd quarter, and people are complaining about that play. Mind you.
On a first down run.
Yeah, mind you. The Chiefs had a 1st and 10 to start that drive. They picked up 15 yards to Kelce, and a questionable, at best, holding call against Trey Smith. Took him 9 yards back and took 15 yards off the board. That's negative 24. The Houston Texans got positive 15. So that means the Chiefs were negative 9 in 2 questionable calls.
Whoa.
That
Stop
drive.
bringing up facts, Jason. They don't like it. They don't like it.
But
they don't like it.
But that's why they're... And then of course, the other part is, well, the refs are in the Chiefs' pocket. They're not going to call Justin Reed for offsides on the field goals. And I went and slowed it down for everybody and tweeted it out this morning. Justin Reed retweeted it. Hey, how about that?
Oh, nice.
And it was Justin Reed simultaneous.
Yeah.
As Weeks is moving the football. And he said it after the game. I played with him in Houston. I'm familiar with his cadence. I'm familiar with that. It was both of them were just amazing, simultaneous, ball and him moving at the exact same time. And people just ignore it. And there's still people like, yeah, but they aren't going to call the offsides. I mean, you
Well,
block
and
a
then
field goal.
there's a whole host of dumb people out there who see the movement first and don't realize that he's on the defensive side and you can move first, and there is a little bit of different distance you have to travel, upfield. A lot of times you move first, you're going up, and you're still not to the line of scrimmage.
There are times it looks like a defensive end is offsides, and then they show it from the line of scrimmage. It's like, oh, he timed that perfect.
Timed it perfectly. He moved, and there's a foot he still has to travel, and by the time he's getting there, that ball is moving.
Yeah.
Well, think how dumb the average person is, right?
Yeah.
George Carlin.
And then think half the people are dumber than that guy.
Yes, that's right.
And that's the people who are on Twitter who don't understand ball.
Yeah, and it's the group thing.
But it's more and more, though. I mean,
dude.
you talked about that guy with a bunch of followers. You have all these national guys Mark Schlereth.
But just 'cause you have
Mark
followers.
Schlereth, the guy who's, champions cheating.
Yeah.
Well, back when they did it,
Can we
that's
spray some
right. You
grease?
call it cheating. I call it trying to win. And now there's this.
Spray some grease on our jersey. You had to go and change your jersey before the game because it was so slick. You had to go and change jerseys because of that, dude, because you sprayed your entire body down.
He's just old-time physical, so he basically wants nothing to be called.
Here's the thing, though. But with Troy Aikman was obviously upset. And whether Troy Aikman has a grudge against Patrick Mahomes or not, I don't care about that. I do understand the frustration from older quarterbacks. I understand the frustration from Troy Aikman seeing that and going, this is ridiculous. Come on, man. What are we doing? He's a runner. He slid late. When Troy Aikman would get his head taken off and it was on a VHS that they would send out at the end of the year, published by the NFL.
What was that called? You got
jacked up.
Jacked
up.
Yeah.
So I understand older quarterbacks being annoyed at the way that the quarterbacks are protected.
Sure.
And even as a runner and sliding late like he did, getting the 15-yard penalty. I can understand that. But then, they go and continue to talk about it, even though the Chiefs still had to drive the rest of the way to score the touchdown. And they had to convert a 4th down and 1. And they had to convert the 3rd down and 11 for the touchdown. They had to do those things after that. They also picked up 25 yards before that. They had just converted a 3rd and 6 for 12 yards to Travis Kelce before that play.
Yeah.
Like, this was not, the Chiefs had been struggling for 3 straight drives, 3 and outs, and then they get the ball at the 35-yard line, and that call happens, and now they get the ball at the 50, and they get a couple plays, and now they get a field goal, and it's a free 3 points. That's not what happened here. It was their first drive of the second half. They scored a touchdown on it. And they put the game out of reach. Like, the Texans had every opportunity to stop them.
I'm wondering if they have the us versus the refs sound bites after every game, because that was one of the most penalized teams in all of the NFL all season long. They averaged about 8 penalties per game, which is what they got.
Yeah.
And it was a team that never learned their lesson. But, that's why I would, at that time, I think we've all seen it. At that time when it happened, it's like, just pick the flag back up because the Chiefs are going to win regardless.
Same thing. It's 2nd and 6.
They're going to win regardless.
I was so glad they didn't throw the flag.
And
when
now
Mahomes
we're
tried
just
to
going to
flop.
have to hear this for a week.
I was so glad they didn't throw the flag when Mahomes tried to flop out of bounds. Thank God. But when they threw the flag on that one, I was like, no, don't. Just
don't.
Pick it up. Pick it up. Say it's not. Damn it. And I was like, because I thought the same thing. I'm like, once they converted on that 3rd and 6 with Travis Kelce, I'm like, okay, because they were overcoming the 1st and 19 because of the penalty, because of the holding call. So they're overcoming 1st and 19. They get 3rd and 6. They hit Travis Kelce, and he picks up the 1st down. It's like, all right, now they're going. They've gained, what was that, 6 yards past the line of scrimmage. So they gained 25 yards on the next 3 plays to overcome 1st and 19. Okay, here we go. The second half, let's roll. And then they get that call, and so that was pretty annoying that took place. Hey, let's go to break with our. You mentioned the sound bites from the Houston Texans, and we played this montage on the in the first hour, so we'll play it again.
Are you gonna do sad fans from Reddit or sad Texans from Locker Room on Wednesday?
Both, maybe.
Okay. Yeah.
We'll definitely do sad fans from Reddit, but this was sad Texans from Locker Room. Putting into perspective and maybe contextualizing what the rest of the country should have been hearing, and certainly what people around here that watched the game heard in that locker room from the Texans. And then we'll go to break after this.
One of those things you kind of know what's up before you even walk in the arena.
Remigio on the return. Nico spins. Still going. Bends it back and down. Ball comes out. And we'll see who comes away with it right out of the gate. Chris Boyd made the stop, and the ball came out. Kansas City ball.
Everybody know how it is playing up here. You can never leave it into the refs' hands, but I mean the whole world see, man, like what it is, bro. But it is what it is, you know. Like I said, when it comes down to it, you can never leave it into the refs' hands.
Extra point is no good. And that is tragic. Fairbairn missed only 2 all season, one of them here in Kansas City week 16. This one hurts. Chiefs lead by 1.
Yeah, we knew going into this game, man, it was us versus everybody. Right? When I say everybody, it's everybody.
We knew it was going to be us against the refs going into this game. And, you know, I talked to you guys early this week. And I was just saying, like, man, like, we got to go out there and we got to do us better.
3rd and 5. This time he lines up over here. Quick setup. Ball comes out. Omenahu knocked it out, and it was recovered by Shaq Mason. And it's a loss of 3, so it makes the field goal try even longer.
Good job by Omenahu. Ball definitely out. And Mason, who got held up with Nick Bolton showing blitz, got on the ball.
55-yard try, not close.
It makes me mad, but it is what it is, honestly. Not much you can do.
We had a couple calls that weren't called that I'm begging for, but at the same time, it is what it is. You know, like, I can't argue with the ref and at the same time play football. I got to go and do my job. So, yeah, I would say, you know, it's definitely some things that I would question.
Late decision to go for it here, and the play clock is at 5.
Yeah, this is too big of a play. I think they need to call a timeout.
But they snap it. Blitz again. Stroud in trouble. Karlaftis is there. Kansas City ball.
Everybody know how it is playing up here. You can never leave it into the refs' hands.
35-yard try by Fairbairn. That's blocked. Reed got there off the edge. Kansas City's going to win this game.
Don't you feel like a crying? Don't you feel like crying? Don't you feel like a cry? Come on, cry to me.
We knew it was going to be us against the refs going into this game. And, you know, I talked to you guys early this week. And I was just saying, like, man, like, we got to go out there and we got to do us better.
Don't you feel like a cry? Cry to me. Don't you feel like crying?
And we knew going into this game, man, it was us versus everybody. Right? When I say everybody, it's everybody.
One of those things you kind of know what's up before you even walk in the arena.
your bedroom, kitchen, and bathrooms with top-notch craftsmanship. Visit Citywide Remodelers at citywideremodelers.com. All right, learn funniest best what we learned from the weekend, funniest from the weekend, best from the weekend, going around the room, and what happened with us. All right, what I learned from the weekend, man, there were so many different things that we could use for learned, but one of the things that I learned is as the Commanders advanced to the NFC Championship game, and Dan Quinn being, a defensive coordinator on the Cowboys last year, and now a head coach that's playing in the NFC Championship game, and Mike McCarthy being, let go, whatever you want to call it, as the Cowboys try to find the next replacement for a head coach. What I learned is that 7 different, between the Eagles and Commanders, 7 different Dallas assistant coaches from 2022 and 2023's teams will be participating in the NFC Championship game alone.
And 2 teams from their own division.
Their own division.
Wow.
Will be participating. 7 different assistant coaches from the last 2 years. And they're looking for new coaches.
They are.
In Dallas.
Man, if they could just find some.
It's gotta be, if you can find a Super Bowl coach, if you were just near one.
Yeah.
Like a
you'd
coach,
know it.
You wouldn't be able to miss it.
Yeah.
But
those guys just jump off the page.
They absolutely do, especially if you got like one guy that's on the offensive side and one guy on the defensive side that have both played in a Super Bowl. It's crazy. What did you learn, Sterling, from the weekend?
Per NFL on Prime Video, in the last 10 Chiefs-Bills game, all right, the last 10 of those teams head-to-head, they're 5-5, and both teams have scored and given up 251 points.
Man.
So if you think this is a close matchup, it is. Now, again, a lot was regular season versus playoffs,
Yes.
so one team has a little more valuable of those 5 wins. But I thought that's wild. Last 10 Chiefs-Bills games, they're both 5-5.
Yeah, Chiefs are only, 2-5 in the regular season, right?
Yeah.
in the last 7 games.
2-3, and then 3-2, whatever it'd be.
No, all the losses are in the regular season, the Bills.
Yeah,
2-5.
3-0
Yeah,
against,
and 3-0. So I just thought that was a really fascinating as far as how close these teams really are.
Yeah, and the
So break the tie.
Yeah.
Should break the tie Sunday.
Yes, for sure. Unless they tie, and then they
I
just
don't think there's a
combine
way
the 2
to.
teams and they go to the Super Bowl. With the
I like the AFC's odds then.
Yeah, I do too. Yeah, the Bills would finally win one if they had
Just
to help
like
the
an
Chiefs.
all-star deal. Like, you know what?
Yeah.
You guys are so good.
You take the final 2 teams
That's what I
of
said.
each conference,
Against the
and then you
Chiefs.
combine the rosters of those.
Yeah, and you take the colors. You take the red from the Chiefs, and you actually take the Bills red as well, and you put them together for a new uniform.
Great. And then
Red
you got
on red.
Mahomes as your quarterback, and then Josh Allen can run sneaks and stuff, which the Chiefs don't want to do.
He's your running back.
So that'd be awesome.
Wildcat with those 2 guys would be wild.
God, I'd have some fun with that. Learned, Mick, from the weekend?
I learned about a youngster named Big Boy. Actually, he's not a youngster anymore. He's older than me.
Just learned about Big Boy?
I did not know about Big Boy.
With Andre.
You're not an Outcast
Right, I
fan?
learned he was an
3000?
outcast.
You're not an Outcast fan?
With no.
Andre 3000?
No,
Yeah.
I'm not.
That's actually
I
pretty
know
crazy to
Andre
me.
3000.
That's almost as bad as Jim Abbott.
Got me bent like elbows.
No, that's not that bad.
Mm-hmm.
Even I wouldn't say that's that bad.
No, it's not that
That's
bad.
pretty close to Jim Abbott having 1 arm.
No, I know about Andre 3000. He was coffee black in semi-pro.
Yeah, he was.
That's exactly right. Yep.
That's
how you know about him. That makes sense.
That's how.
And Big Boy wasn't in semi-pro.
He was
so you
not.
Had, so you had no
Had he
idea.
been a post player, I might have. I've heard of Outkast. I know some of their songs. I think I know some of Big Boy's songs, but I didn't know about him. I appreciate his work. I celebrate his entire collection.
Well, you having the
His
same
whole
nickname.
catalog.
You having the same nickname as him at your
That's
house.
right.
Must
Well,
be even more difficult for
I
you.
have a Y at the end.
Okay, that makes sense. Did you enjoy the halftime show?
I was getting chicken strips.
Oh.
All right. They are good chicken strips, though. That's like.
I don't think even with Pearl Jam was out there, I'd still go get the chicken strips.
Did you get the
I would
buffalo
sacrifice
sauce?
giving to Fly if they lead with that, and then get back for the rest of
What if it was
the
Nirvana?
10-minute set.
What if it was Nirvana with Kurt Cobain from the dead?
It'd be amazing. Yes, I don't.
But would you stay for
But
that?
that
or
I
buffalo
would
sauce
say,
is pretty
Mackenzie,
good.
give me some chicken strips, and she would bring them over.
That makes sense. You got to delegate. What'd you learn, Dylan, besides that we all learned that Mick didn't know anything about Outkast?
Chicken strips. So
I
on
knew
this
half
day,
about cast. I knew the cast part, or did I know the out part? Which part did I know?
on December 12th, I didn't know this. I knew of the snowplow game where the gentleman for the Patriots in a 0-0 game came out to clear a spot for the kicker. I didn't know he was on work release. His name was Mark Henderson. The
amazing.
quote he got after the game was, "What are they going to do? Throw me in jail."
Ah, that's great.
That's great.
I
So you
learned
can't do that
was
anymore. It's got to be the players on the
Yes.
field to clear
Yep.
off the spot, right?
Well, you can't have anybody on a work release to come do it.
That's true. Yes.
You can have other people.
Actually, you want a guy on work release 'cause he's already in
For
jail.
those type games, do you sign just your 53rd player, your last guy, someone who's just really good at clearing snow.
It's like a 17 size
Right?
shoe.
Somebody who's just really experienced and
This guy's worked
knows,
trucks and
he
snow
knows,
plows
listen,
for years,
you should
man.
see this guy Snow Angel, man. It'll be green grass.
You want the
in 20 seconds.
flattest hand possible.
That's right,
So you
like
can
a
use it
scoop.
as like a scooper
Yes.
and just.
Yes. I think it's worth investigating.
But let's be honest, the refs would let the Chiefs use other things
Uh-huh.
besides just the people. That's obvious. Funniest, we start
the
with
refs
you.
would help out.
That would be amazing. Funniest for you, Sterling.
So I've talked about this before briefly, but before the season started, I bet with one of my podcast co-hosts that he's a Falcons guy. And, the Falcons had really good odds to go, like the NFC South. They're atrocious. It was the Falcons win a playoff game. I said no. And then he goes, well, let's double or nothing on something. I go, well, how about the Chiefs win a playoff game? Because he was like, oh, the Chiefs are going to be shown as frauds this year. I said, deal. So the Chiefs had to win a playoff game, and the Falcons had to not win a playoff game for double or nothing odds.
Both those things happened.
Both those things happened. We're going to New
triple or
Orleans for the
nothing?
Super Bowl together. And the bet basically is now he has to pay for all my drinks in New Orleans.
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
So
Saw you tweeted that guy. Yeah,
he is going to be going. I feel bad for him. That's going to be a very expensive.
When you make those
I'm not
type
feeling-
of obvious mistakes, you can't feel
I'm
bad.
not feeling bad for someone that put a bet like that on.
That's going to be an expensive week because I get down Sunday. That's going to be an expensive week for the guys. So Ian, I'm sorry, man.
He's
That's
got to be so mad at the refs.
That's brutal.
Oh man, not his own
He
bet.
He was, by the way.
Not his own bet. It had nothing
Right.
to do with him making the bet that the Chiefs would lose their first game in the playoffs.
I didn't do it, but right after he tweeted and with some of the refs, I was about to say, I wonder who this guy bet on.
Well, he bet a lot on it with you, Mick. Funniest for you?
Just a headline here. German politician is attacked by a coven of carnival witches. That happened over the weekend.
Wow.
And I mean, if it's really close to me, if it's me or somebody I know, I'm not in favor of violence, but they're it's across the pond, right? So I can laugh at this. So that's why it's funny. The guy was beat up by witches. They're carnival witches, which are apparently a different sect.
Yeah.
And they even know they belong to the Heimbach Hexa Association of Carnival Witches.
that makes sense.
They jumped from behind. It's in the Black Forest region of Germany. He's a mayor. They brutally knocked me to the ground. A total of 6 witches were kicking me. He had broken ribs.
Wow.
The Heimbach Hexa members dress up in hoods, leather aprons, dark stockings, and horned devil masks.
Wow.
And they have been around since, guess how long the organization's been around since?
1783.
1430.
1488.
Oh my goodness!
You know your witches. You're a Wiccan. I remember when you went to Louisville, you took that class.
We're from
and
Salem.
Yeah.
We're
Dude, son of a witch, you're
Yes.
good.
Family is family dates all the way back to Salem.
Yeah.
Mhm, Yep.
Well, the problem is Salem, Oregon, and it was the wrong
It was the
coast.
wrong
coast.
coast,
Wrong
but-
coast.
That's
Winston-Salem. It's North Carolina.
In fairness, that'd be
love
terrifying.
Wake Forest.
Oh, great.
You're in a forest, and you got these hooded witches coming at you. And
Yeah.
Which, I mean, if they're really good witches, they shouldn't have to result to physical violence. They got to do spells and stuff,
Use their
right?
wand
Yes.
or their broom.
Broom, something.
Yeah. You think they were wands or brooms?
Sanderson,
Did it say in
Sanderson sisters would never.
Never.
In the sect, did it say if they're a broom or a wand?
I didn't
type
get
of
that
witch?
far into it.
Funniest
look it
for you,
up.
Dylan.
Since I discovered it like 5 minutes ago.
Yeah. Funniest for you, Dylan.
Funniest for me just happened recently. They are doing some inauguration coverage on C-SPAN, and a fan called in live to, complain about what's, going on today.
Oh, my God.
Of course. So here it is.
Hoping to become the next director of national intelligence. Graham in Jersey City, New Jersey, Democrats line.
Hi, I want to wish everyone a happy MLK Day. I hope everyone's staying warm. But disappointed how the election turned out. I think it would have been great to see a female president inaugurated today. And while I'm disappointed in the American people and their desire to see another 4 years of Trump, I'm a bit more disappointed in the selection committee for not picking Alabama for the college football playoff final, and instead picking inferior teams like SMU and Indiana. Truly dark times in America.
Okay.
How long was he going to get to go?
Oh, truly dark times. The selection committee.
You
Not
think
taking out-
C-SPAN would learn, like screen,
so-
on
Oh,
this
my gosh.
pot and kettle situation, but
So
they didn't
great.
screen their cards.
That's so good. I'm sorry, I've got a couple of funniest because I'm the last in the funniest. You
Let's
guys didn't
go.
take them. We'll play this one. Kirk Cousins in the pregame. They were talking about Patrick Mahomes. Kirk Cousins was pretty good, by the way, in the pregame on the set, and they were very cold out there. But here's Kirk Cousins describing Patrick Mahomes' quarterback play.
Forward, it's already been astounding. I
got to ask Kirk this, right? Like, outside looking in, a lot of fans, we enamored with what you guys do as quarterbacks. You know, people talk about it being the position it's the polarizing position in professional sports. And based on what Pat has been doing, Kirk, how hard is it to play this position at that level, consistency?
Yeah, there's times where I watch Pat play, and it's hard to believe we play the same position.
That's pretty good.
He said, we do this. He said, later on in the conversation, he's like, I said to my kids, like, yeah, we do the same. We play the same position, but we don't really play the same position. And then this one was during.
I love Kirk Cousins. I wish he was better.
Good.
Wish he was better at.
Yeah. But I think he's going to be good at this when he's done quarterbacking.
Oh, agreed, yeah.
Because he was a natural on the set there with those guys. This was during the Commanders and Lions game, and Tom Brady, after the Commanders owner came down to the field at the end. Here's Tom Brady, a little nugget to drop in.
7 down by 14.
I'm not sure Coach Quinn likes owners coming down on the field before the game's over.
Jeez. My bad, Dan.
My bad, Dan. That was 28-3 lead. Arthur Blank Falcons came down on the field.
That's right.
Dan Quinn, the head coach, and the owner comes down to celebrate with the team.
Kevin Burkhardt with the
jeez. And then my last funniest is a guy on one of the last TikTok videos that I saw shared.
3 funniest?
I know.
Okay.
Last TikTok videos that was shared. A guy went to the store to get Angel Reese's Puffs cereal.
Yeah.
And he said, getting Angel Reese's Puffs, and he takes it off the shelf. And he throws it to the cart, and it hits off the cart on the ground. And then he picks it up, and he throws it, hits off the cart on the ground. Then he picks it up and throws it, hits off the cart on the ground over and over. And it's like 30 seconds of him. And then eventually he lays it in. Angels Reese's Puffs. All right.
Do you think he got a different one?
Is it back? Right? Is TikTok back?
No. It was like this was before.
It is back, by the way.
Is
but
it?
you can't download it from the App Store, apparently, but if you already have it.
Okay.
I mean, that was the shortest bit. That was like Jamar Chase going to KU and then backing out that play.
Right. Best for you, Mick.
Best for me. We'd daughter's volleyball tournament, big MLK weekend tournament they do every year at Bartle Hall. They have 85 courts. Any girl in the 5-state area who's ever played volleyball, they're there. They're playing. It's just huge. It's a fun time. But so I was there getting coffee at Lowe's Saturday morning, and this guy had the sweetest throwback black and white Montreal Expos t-shirt I've ever seen. I'm like, I almost want to go up to this guy and talk to him. Then I looked up at his face. It was Joe Buck in line with me to get coffee. He was staying at Lowe's. And well done, Joe. Best thing you've ever done is get that sweet Montreal Expos t-shirt.
It's the best thing he's ever done.
That was great. Yeah.
Dylan, best for you?
Best for me was the Commanders all surprising Doug Williams by wearing his jersey shirt and making him an honorary captain last Thursday, and then going out on Saturday night and winning the game.
Winning that game.
That was awesome.
Best for me, daughter's kindergarten basketball game, dribbling down the floor as they're counting down because, they don't actually have a clock counting down.
Oh, they don't.
7, 6,
5 and a half.
It gets to 3, and she shoots it, and it goes in at the buzzer. So that was cool. She loved it, and she was celebrating.
Did she get off in time? Did they go review? Did they take a look?
I got it on video. It was off in time.
Okay, good.
Yep, absolutely. All right, best for you, Sterling?
FAU.
That's pretty good. Florida Atlantic for Sterling. For the national championship game, 6:30, Ohio State, Notre Dame. The line is 8.5. Mick?
Money line against the spread, 8.5. Yeah, I'm going Buckeyes.
Yeah, it's been all chalk. I mean, these games so far, 10 games.
10 games.
Favorites 10-0 and 9-1 against the spread. I'll take the Buckeyes minus 8.5.
Also, trends aside, I think they're a way better football team too. Crazy that the Chiefs have a Notre Dame guy. A couple of them, no Ohio State guys.
All right.
I'll go Ohio State 38, Notre Dame 17, and I will take a nap in the second half probably.
Okay.
So
you should do 37-17. It might finally arrive.
It might, yes, in college. Dylan, Ohio State, Notre Dame?
Yep, give me Ohio State money line and spread.
All right, so we'll see what happens. Notre Dame's got a tall task ahead of them tonight with an incredibly talented Ohio State.
You're not going to shut down Will Howard. We've been saying it for years.
I've said that
Can't stop him.
I've said it for 10 years now.